going on, my fellow A-plussers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live to you over on our Facebook page, along with our main page over on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for definitely joining us today. While we don't necessarily have a full group here today, we definitely have enough to certainly get by, ladies and gentlemen, as it's myself along with Stuart in the house today. What's going on, Stuart? Good to see you, buddy. How's it going this morning, man? I think you're muted again.
My bad. Yeah, so everything's going good on my end. Super tired, but that's like nothing new at this point.
Do you have your cup of Joe with you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay, so we're cup of Joe brothers. Okay.
Cup.
Oh, you got that from Disneyland? That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
When's the last time you went?
Oh, last time I went, it was definitely the same weekend I went to WonderCon. So whenever the last WonderCon was, that was
it was like just before. Was that 2019? Was that just before the pandemic hit?
Yeah, the year before the pandemic. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you trying to go to WonderCon the previous year, and then they wind up, or the year after, and I think they wind up canceling it kind of last minute, I believe, didn't they?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was fully last minute. Like there was at least a month notice, I want to say, but it was like before we knew how bad the pandemic was going to get.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember I was trying to see if we can maybe get you some press passes for WonderCon, and then they wind up bringing up that news. That's right, I do remember that. Yeah, man. Well, you know what? Hopefully, conventions start opening back up where you're at. Hopefully soon. Yeah, we had Fan Expo Dallas out here a couple of weeks ago. If you guys missed our content that we put on our channel, check it out. We got some great highlights from amazing Q&A panels that we had over the weekend. That was maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. But I'm hoping, if anything, the next two that I personally would like to go to, Star Wars Celebration in Cali, and I believe Power Morphicon for Power Rangers, I believe is going to be back maybe like August or September of next year. So it might be even earlier than that. I'm not quite sure. So I do plan on trying to come back out to Cali for some conventions. I definitely want to get back into convention coverage. I had a ton of fun doing it again for Fan Expo Dallas, but I got to tell you, exhausting as far as like the walking around and standing. My body was not used to convention walking. It's been such a long time.
Yeah, going from everything being shut down to now it's like convention time. Everything's open. You got to walk everywhere.
Yeah, it's like my cardio wasn't ready for it, man. I was like, holy crap. All right, man. But well, good to see you, Stuart. Thank you very much for certainly joining us here this weekend. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we definitely want to know your thoughts. These are just simply our A-plus opinions as we break down some of the articles. At the end of the day, though, we definitely want to go ahead and know yours. So if you hear a story, if you want to be vocal about it, give your thoughts on it. Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs. And Stuart, before we, you know how we do around here, guys, before we even get into our main topics, we usually have some honorable mentions for you guys that we're going to be tackling. Some things that didn't quite make the cut, but maybe was worthy of bringing to your attention. So Stuart, do you happen to have any honorable mentions for this week?
It's a bit of a spoiler for the upcoming Flash season, but there's been some set photos that have come out, and one of them shows something really, really unique. Anyway, so spoiler, like just, mute for like 30 seconds, I guess. I'll give you guys the thumbs up once I'm done like talking about it if you guys don't want to hear the spoiler. But here it comes. So there's a set photo that came out that shows Grant Gustin wearing a reverse Flash type of outfit. So a lot of people are kind of wondering, is this like Barry turning evil again? Or what I think it is, I think it's going to be like Eobard Thawne using now, instead of Harrison Wells' DNA, now it's going to be him using Grant Gustin's DNA to like take a new form. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. To me, he wasn't the best at acting when it came to being the villain for when it came to being Savitar, but I feel like enough time has passed, so maybe he's kind of learned how to be somewhat menacing, I guess. So we'll have to wait and see how that all turns out.
Does Grant Gustin not have a single mean bone in his body? Is that what you're saying? He's just way too
Yeah.
nice of a human being. He can't pull it off.
Yeah. It's like with it's kind of the same thing with Melissa Benoist with the Crisis on Earth X crossover episode, because I just didn't buy the evil Supergirl as like evil.
Really?
I'm just like, I'm sorry, I just see Melissa Benoist and she's too adorable to be evil.
Any moment she's gonna break out into a musical dance. I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned some of the set photos from The Flash, because this week I did see some set photos also. I actually saw some photos of Ryan Choi's character as Adam in his costume and everything. And I don't know how I feel about it. It feels very much more traditional than the one that we wind up getting from Brandon Routh's character. He looked a little bit more like Iron Man, whereas this one looks a little bit more traditional Adam. And I don't know how I feel about it yet. But then again, it is just set photos. I don't want to completely crap on the costume. It's something I will certainly wait for to certainly see happen. But it definitely feels as though the Adam is passing down the torch to the Atom at some point in time in here. So yeah, we've got somebody new on our hands to enjoy in the Arrowverse. So I'm really excited about to see Ryan's ascension here into hopefully a bigger role going forward in the future.
Hope so too. I thought it was really weird that they brought him in for Crisis, but they didn't really give him that much in terms of like actually making him the Atom.
Yeah, maybe they just had like way too much stuff kind of going on already as it is. So maybe they wanted to hold back on it. I have no idea. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be here before we know it, man. But yeah, the Flash 5-part crossover is currently filming. Let's see here. Some other honorable mentions for you guys today. Some that I'm really excited to go ahead and talk about briefly with you guys. A new Boba Fett poster, the Book of Boba Fett. We wind up not only getting a poster, but an actual release date as well for the series, December 29th. They're pushing it, man, towards the very end of this year to certainly make this drop before 2022 gets here. So if you were excited for Boba Fett's appearance in The Mandalorian and how maybe Robert Rodriguez directed that episode, well, you're in for a treat, because you're going to get plenty more Robert Rodriguez directing Boba Fett in this series. So mark your calendars, guys. December 29th is the date for this limited series. How excited are you for this, Stuart? I'm extremely pumped. Like, especially I think after we talked about this maybe about 2-3 weeks ago, when Robert Rodriguez was saying, it's gonna blow your minds away, like beat any expectations that you have. I kind of believe the dude. I honestly do. So I'm hyped for this. So how excited are you though?
Oh, extremely. Them bringing Boba Fett into The Mandalorian was probably one of my favorite things that they did for the show. Just in his introduction scene alone, you realized exactly like this was like a very, very different, not like super different, but decently different Boba Fett than the one that we got from Star Wars Legends or Star Wars Expanded Universe before Disney bought them, but like different in a good way. I like the new direction that they're taking with him. I like how they're okay with keeping him as a badass instead of trying to kind of make the joke of, hey, it's the most badass bounty hunter that didn't do anything badass type of a thing. I like how it's like, okay, we've made this joke plenty of times. Now it's actually time to see the Boba Fett that people think of when they think of Boba Fett. And yeah, I think it's great. The actor, I am terrible with names, so I apologize.
Tamora Morrison?
Huh?
I think it's Tamora Morrison.
Tamora Morrison. Yeah, he's just amazing. I love the way he plays it in this in this show. So I look forward to seeing how he does now getting his own solo show. I feel like it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to it. And if anything, I know that this is a limited series and definitely focusing on Boba. I know we got was it Fennec played by Ming-Na Wen that's going to be in here also. So she's definitely going to get some shine in the Star Wars universe. If anything, even though I know that this is a Boba series, they do mention, I believe I've heard them reference Boba Fett as like a Mandalorian 2.5 or, like a middle in between season before we wind up getting Mandalorian season 3. So I am kind of curious to see if there will be any connective tissues in this series and if it leads into anything for the upcoming Mandalorian season that we're going to be getting next year. So a lot to look forward to. But remember, mark your calendars, guys. December 29th, the Book of Boba Fett will be here. Next up, we did get ourselves a couple of brand new posters for Zack Snyder's Army of Thieves. He's continuing to expand his universe over on Netflix. we wind up getting Army of the Dead a couple of months back. And the safecracker from the movie, Dieter, is getting himself a little bit of a prequel spinoff here, as he's got a movie, Army of Thieves, which is going to be treated sort of like a prequel to Army of the Dead. If you've seen any of the trailers, it kind of coincides, I believe, with the first attack on Las Vegas. So it should be interesting to see exactly the bigger world that Zack Snyder is forming together here. I mean, if you watched Army of the Dead, there definitely were some things that jumped out if you were paying attention, like, huh? Like, what is going on here? Like, there's something trippy going on with this storyline, and I think Army of the Thieves is going to shed maybe just a little bit more light on what's going on. But yeah, we wind up getting ourselves two brand new posters here with the release date of October, is that 29th? I believe that's October 29th. At the bottom of the poster, so it's going to be here. Stuart, I believe you had the opportunity to check out Army of the Army of the Dead. What did you think, and are you hyped at least for Army of Thieves with these new posters we wind up getting?
Probably not too hyped for it, if I'm being honest. I thought Army of the Dead was just a fun movie, not one that I would, really want a sequel to, or a prequel for that case, a prequel without zombies in it. Unless there are zombies in it, in which case I might actually check it out. But as of now, like, I don't really think I have too much interest in it. I'll probably wait and see what other people think of it before I check it out.
I get it. Yeah, I felt like some people felt that same way too about Army of the Dead when they first watched it. For me, I really love the replay value of the movie. I think me and the girlfriend watched it like 2 or 3 times. And each time we watched it, we noticed something different, whether that be robot zombies or whatever the case may be. Like, something weird is certainly happening. A crazy ass time loop. Like, I have no idea. UFOs in the sky. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to certainly catch in Army of the Dead. So when it comes to Army of Thieves, I don't know if I'm going to sleep on it. I feel like even though it looks like another heist movie from Zack Snyder, I think we might be in for a treat here to see how it maybe connects to the overall bigger picture. But we'll see. We'll definitely see what we wind up getting. And then last but not least, I'm sorry, I got 2 more honorable mentions here, Stuart. I'm gonna breeze past these real quick, but this one is for you, Stuart. We got brand new Stargirl pictures for an upcoming Jay Garrick the Flash, as he's set to go ahead and return to Stargirl season 3, Stargirl season 2, which is currently airing over on CW. If you haven't checked out Stargirl, season 1 is on HBO Max. But this year, we're really getting into some JSA members here, as we got Jay Garrett certainly coming back. John Wesley Shipp himself reprising his role as the Flash. We're so used to certainly seeing him in the Arrowverse in regards to like the Flash shows and stuff. To see him on Stargirl, if you ask me, I think is a great sort of connective tissue to the overall Arrowverse. So we're going to have this meeting here. Clearly some flashbacks. Also, Entertainment Weekly did go ahead and release some brand new photos from that particular upcoming episode. So this moment does look a little bit flashbacky to me, whereas this feels a little bit maybe more I don't know, they might all be flashbacks, Stuart, but you see these brand new photos here. How pumped are you for this upcoming episode?
Very pumped, especially with the cliffhanger that left off with the previous episode. I think this next episode with where we're going to get Jay Garrick back is going to be amazing. It's going to be really cool to actually get to explore the previous JSA. And then we know that there's just something about this time period that Pat has been keeping secret from Courtney, because both Pat and Courtney's mother are worried that it's going to terrify her and change her for life. So I'm wondering if this is going to be the episode where we finally get that reveal. I think I'm going to sound really mean when I say this, though. So I apologize. I'm just not the biggest fan of the Jay Garrett costume, and I was kind of hoping they would upgrade it for Stargirl. But they are seemingly sticking with the same suit that they use in the Flash, which is fine. I think it's okay. It's just not my favorite when it came to the Flash. I was kind of hoping they might go with a more they might go with the more fabric classic design that they had, like they did with all the other JSA members. For me, it kind of makes this one, and it might just be because I'm familiar with this suit, whereas all the other suits are kind of new to me. But yeah, it just kind of makes this one stand out a little bit compared to the other suits, not in the best way necessarily.
Well, I will say this. I do wonder. Well, it is the Flash. I mean, who knows how many times Jake Garrett himself has been through like time and space and all the adventures that he's seen and things like that. Like, so for me, it definitely makes sense. Like, if anything, he would probably. It's funny. Like, while it feels maybe dated to you because we've seen it for such a long time, I think the fact that when you put it compared to all the other ones, his does certainly seem to pop a little bit more. I think it's just because of the fact that Homeboy's he's just been around. You know what I'm saying? Like
that makes sense too.
This is his suit upgrade right here compared to everybody else. But I dig it. I dig it personally. I like the classic look. But yeah, man, I have not had the opportunity to check out Stargirl season 2 yet. I am waiting for it all to drop over on HBO Max personally, so I can binge it. But if you guys are watching Stargirl, I highly suggest you guys check out Stuart's reviews each and every week as he goes ahead and highlights Stargirl for you guys. So definitely go ahead and check it out. Other than that, Stuart, the last one, and one of the reasons why I really wish Indy was here too, but we'll definitely pick your brain in regards to this. Batwoman season 3 is right around the corner, guys. They've been filming it. We've been getting the list of a ton of characters that are going to be hitting Batwoman this year. We've got Poison Ivy, Renee Montoya, even the actress Robin Givens is going to be in here this season. But we wind up actually getting some official photos from the CW to go ahead and hype up the return of Batwoman season 3 as we get the opportunity to see Batwing here along with Batwing and Batwoman together, as it looks as though they're definitely going to be collaborating quite a lot this season. Or at least within the few first couple of episodes, and then even maybe a little bit of a tease of some Poison Ivy aspects that are definitely happening this season. I love all the new photos that we've been getting from Batwoman, honestly, and I don't know if I've ever been that excited for a Batwoman season as I am this one. I think based off of the fact that we now have Javicia Leslie in the title role itself, we're not really having to be, hunkered down by the Ruby Rose incident and the Kate Kane stuff. Maybe it feels like Javicia Leslie is finally taking the driver's seat here, and I kind of want to see what they do with her in regards to like her first full season of just her show. You know what I mean, Stuart? But what do you think about some of these photos?
I do think for Batwoman, third time will definitely be a charm for this season in particular. Just because you look at Batwoman season 1, I feel like for that season, kind of like with season 2, it took about halfway through the season for them to really find their footing and really kind of establish themselves as like the show they want to be. And that's what it was for Batwoman season 1. So I feel like they had this plan, going forward with Ruby Rose, and then when she left the show, it was like kind of the whole thing where they, you could really tell the showrunners were struggling in the beginning half of Batwoman season 2 because, you look at the first half of season 2 and you compare it to the second half, there's a huge difference in quality in terms of the show's writing. And I feel like it's because they figured out exactly, the type of show they wanted to be throughout the second half of season 2. And so they were a lot more, it felt a lot more like it felt a lot more established, basically. That's the way to put it, I think. And I think like now with Javis, now that they've moved on from the Ruby Rose stuff, we won't have that holding down the storyline, because I feel like that was also kind of a big issue with season 2, is that it's hard to appreciate the new character when all the other characters are constantly talking about how much they miss Kate Kane, constantly. It's like it's actually kind of like in Power Rangers Samurai when they got the new Red Ranger for like 2 episodes. It's like that, except for instead of it just being like 2 episodes of man, we like Jaden better, it's essentially 12 episode of man, we miss Kate Kane so much, but with them trying not to be rude about it and not saying that they liked her better. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and poor Ryan Wilder's over here, like, guys, I'm standing right here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Can I get some appreciation, please? I'm right here, guys.
But on top of that, I really like the Batwing costume. It kind of reminds me of a Common Rider in a lot of ways. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, I am digging the Batwing costume, honestly. That that glowing bat symbol just does it for me, man. I absolutely love it. It looks pretty slick.
I think the one thing I was worried about, but like seeing these set photos, I don't think it's going to be a worry, at least not too much, is I was worried that with the special effects required for pulling off the Batwing costume, we might see it less this season. Like they might come up with a ton of excuses of why they can't use it, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It does look like the two of them are actually fighting crime together, and I love it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're gonna get wings for Batwing. I remember I believe Indy might have said one time that he was waiting for some wings to debut from this costume. Do you think we're gonna get them?
Probably at some point. I feel like the wings are going to be used sparingly, though.
I get you. I get you. Budgetary purposes or what?
Budgetary purposes and just practicality, because like it's a lot harder to choreograph a fight scene when the actors have to be more aware of their surroundings. But like without the wings for that costume, it's a lot easier for the stunt actors to be able to choreograph fights better.
I get you. I get you. So we'll see what happens in the development of Batwoman season 3, but it's going to be here soon, Stuart. Like literally, we're in October already, so I think within like 2 weeks or so, maybe some of these shows are going to be starting up again, which is crazy because I'm still reviewing Supergirl, and I feel like we're still in last year, trying to play some catch up and wrap up the show.
I mean, you're still doing Supergirl, I'm still doing Stargirl, and that was all part of like the previous seasons.
It's so crazy, and now some of the new seasons are going to be starting up here soon. So if you are looking for reviews for some of your favorite shows, The Flash, Batwoman, definitely go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I believe Indy's going to be bringing you reviews for both of those seasons, so definitely go ahead and look forward to that. All right, Stuart, with that out of the way, we have wrapped up all the honorable mentions. Time to tackle our main topics for the day, man. Are you ready to go ahead and get into this with me?
Always.
Awesome. We're going to go ahead and kick off the show with some Marvel talk, ladies and gentlemen. You saw it at the top of our thumbnail. One of our main topics that we're going to be breaking down for you guys. Sam Raimi being a part of Doctor Strange 2 Into the Multiverse of Madness. We know this movie is just going to be absolute bonkers. With everything that the MCU has been diving into lately, especially when it comes to the multiversal world aspect of things, this movie is going to be absolutely bananas. I mean, I feel like if you watched Loki, it's going to be a little bit of something of that. It's probably going to be a little bit of Spider-Man No Way Home mixed in, some WandaVision mixed in there with some fantastic Doctor Strange elements also. And when you've got somebody like Sam Raimi helming this particular project, you got to be excited, right? But I am curious, Stuart. When Sam Raimi was in fact announced for Doctor Strange, I do wonder if there were some people out there that might have been worried about his addition to this particular film, specifically because of the last time we saw Sam Raimi tackle a comic book movie. It left a rather bad taste in our mouth when it comes to Spider-Man 3. Now, I know time usually heals all wounds, but I still think even after all this time, most people probably do not like Spider-Man 3. And Sam Raimi this week talked a little bit about that, considering how much of an awful reaction he wind up actually getting to Spider-Man 3 after that made him even wonder if he should jump back into the comic book genre. So Sam Raimi gave a very candid interview in here, opening up about just that particular idea after Spider-Man 3. Why come back to comic book movies? Should you come back to a comic book movie? I think it was a very important question he certainly asked himself. So let's go ahead and dive into this article here, Stuart, as we go ahead and discuss this. This is from Collider.com. Says Sam Raimi gets candid on why he'd make Doctor Strange 2 after awful reactions to Spider-Man 3. Let's see here. It says, so why, after all this negativity, would Raimi want to hurdle himself back into the world of superhero filmmaking? Lots has changed since Sam Raimi made these films, including a building of an entire cinematic universe. Even so, as Raimi told us in an interview for Night Books alongside director David Yarvesky, the sting of Spider-Man 3 still smarts, but thankfully not enough. He's the director of Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness, and he has told us why he said yes to the job. Sam Raimi spoke frankly about the mental challenges faced when considering a return to Marvel filmmaking and why those challenges ultimately motivated him. This is what Sam Raimi said. He said, I didn't know that I could face it again because it was so awful. Having been the director of Spider-Man 3, the internet was getting revved up and people disliked that movie and they sure let me know about it. So it was difficult to take back on. But then I found out that there was an opening on Doctor Strange 2. My agent called me and said they're looking for a director at Marvel for this movie, and your name came up. Would you be interested? And I thought, I wonder if I could still do it. They're really demanding those type of pictures, and I felt, well, that's reason enough. I've always really liked the character of Doctor Strange. He was not my favorite, but he was right up there with the favorites. I loved the first movie. I thought the director Scott Derrickson did a wonderful job, an incredible job. So I said, yeah, they left the character in a great place. I didn't think I would be doing another superhero movie. It just sort of happened. He says, Raimi also spoke about an allowance for and love of improvisation on his Doctor Strange 2 set, a seemingly odd decision given the level of budget, stakes, and pre-visuals pre-visual control at play for this kind of film. But as Raimi explained, every time an actor steps in front of the camera, it's improvisation. So why not lean in? He says, it's always an improvisation just to begin with. So I don't think of it like a specific choice. The actor brings what they bring. That's their improv. It's what the role is. Granted, Scott Derrickson set up a very, very strong foundation with these great characters and story and visuals with Benedict Cumberbatch, but nevertheless, it's a new story. Every time the actor steps in front of the camera, everyone's making everything from scratch. So just for me, because that's my point of view, another improvisation, a different take, something unexpected, something thrown at the actor for them to respond to live camera on live camera is exciting. It's just a continuation of that same process. So I think this is a really great article in regards to diving into the mindset of Sam Raimi here, understanding why he decided to certainly come back to go ahead and do a movie, and then also his choice of how he tackles the idea of directing some of these actors when it comes to improvisation. So so it's so funny, man. We talked about this. Was it like 2 weeks ago? I think when the Thor 2 Dark World director, I believe, or writer came out and talked about the idea that the negativity that he had received from Thor the Dark World made him question the idea if he even wanted to sort of be in filmmaking again, if he even wanted to sort of tackle another movie. Like, the guy literally had to take a step back for a few years and sort of figure his life out and figure things out once again for himself. And it feels like there's a little bit of an element to that when it comes to Sam Raimi also. I think we look at these directors like they're bigger than life, that they can't make a mistake, or that they're meant to always kind of be perfect. And because of the fact that they're celebrities, I think we sometimes forget that they're also human beings, and the fact that, they do hear this stuff, and they do hear the pushback that these fans certainly do give them. I mean, it's certainly warranted in regards to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. I don't think a lot of people were very pleased with it, but to think that, something like that wouldn't affect somebody like Sam Raimi, I think we would certainly be fooling ourselves there. So I love the fact that he at least comes out and says that he had, some uncertainties in regards to it, whether or not he could do it again, but still finding it within himself to certainly step up to the plate and pull it off. And granted, there has been a ton of time separated from that moment, from Spider-Man 3 to where he is right now. I've seen some great Sam Raimi movies in my time. So if there is anybody that I think can learn from their mistakes, especially given a second opportunity and a chance, I definitely do think that it's Sam Raimi. I do love just the tone and the aesthetics that he certainly brings, the shot selections and stuff. There is something really special about the way that Sam Raimi creates a movie. And I do think that if there is anybody, especially just with his visual touch that he brings, like when you see a Sam Raimi movie, it's unlike any other movie. Like, his style alone, you immediately know it's a Sam Raimi film. And I think when you are tackling somebody like a Doctor Strange, even maybe a nightmare villain, if that's who they're certainly still going with, you bring in the fun and the craziness and maybe even horror element of what the multiverse certainly might bring forth. I think this movie sets up perfectly for a great redemption story, if you will, for Sam Raimi to come back into the comic book genre. Because I have a lot of confidence in this man in regards to what he's going to do with this movie. But I am curious if there are maybe some people out there that are worried about Sam Raimi tackling this movie after Spider-Man 3. So let me throw this over to you, Stuart. One, are you worried at all that maybe some Spider-Man 3 elements might make their way into this movie? He does talk about his style of filmmaking of improvisation. Do you think it could end up that way? And just in general, what do you think about his thoughts in here and just your excitement level for what he might be able to bring to the movie?
I mean, for me, I personally, with the improvisation stuff, that is not new to Marvel at all. Like, you look at a lot of other Marvel movies, a lot of the best lines that we get from these movies came from just, actors improvising, including "I am Iron Man." That wasn't scripted. It was originally I don't remember what he was originally supposed to say, but it wasn't that. And I think it worked so much better with Robert Downey Jr. deciding to bring the whole thing full circle. So that's just one of many examples. There's a lot more out there. So that actually makes a lot of sense for Marvel. And going to the kind of criticism portion of this, like with him talking about like the backlash that he got from Spider-Man 3, he did not to say he didn't sound mature when he was talking about it. Obviously, I think it's just one of those things where criticism hits people a lot differently. A lot of us, we want to get better, but we also don't like hearing negative things about ourselves, even if it's something that we need to hear every once in a while. And please note, when I say negative critique, I'm not talking about the people that, send him messages, especially the people that send personal messages and say, "Hey, you ruined this. That's messed up. You should never
like
do
legit
that."
creative criticism.
Yeah, exactly. People who review the movie on, whatever platform they have, whether it's YouTube or whether, because back then I don't think movie reviews were really that big on YouTube. I think it was more like people on local like cable networks would do it more often. So, on television and that kind of stuff, it's where you'd see like a lot more of these reviews. And yeah, like some people can take it well. For some people, like, for me, every once in a while, when I hear something really bad about my writing, I usually need to take a couple of days to just kind of like, cool my head, realize, hey, this isn't against me personally. This is just something that I need to improve on if I want to get better at what I like to do. And then just, take a breather and then get back to it and then improve on those things that I know I messed up on. But, being upset when you hear criticism isn't bad. That's just, it kind of makes you human. It's just kind of like how you react to it. And I think Sam Raimi went the more mature route. The idea of he kind of stepped back from directing superhero movies for a little bit, and now he's finally come back to Doctor Strange. I think it's been more than enough time. I think for sure he's definitely learned from the things that didn't work in Spider-Man 3, and he's going to improve on that with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Get rid of the things that didn't work in Spider-Man 3, but bring back what worked from, Spider-Man 1 and 2 and implement those elements into this. And on top of that, like, I do think, this wasn't mentioned in the article, but it's something that I feel like kind of goes without saying. I think one thing that helps is not having Avi Arad as one of his producers, because I feel like Avi Arad's just kind of that guy that makes all the wrong decisions, and he's really good at making the wrong decisions. So without him being the producer of this, you won't have him telling him to rewrite the entire script last minute and be like, okay, no, now we need to include Venom, even though Venom wasn't even meant to be part of the film. You got to find a way to work him into the movie. So that there's not going to be anything like that with Kevin Feige and his directors that he works with. Kevin Feige tends to give his directors a little more freedom, and the input that he does give with their movies oftentimes are really good. They're usually really good ideas, and things that I think really enhance Marvel films for the most part.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. A shout out to Marcelino Vasquez for being here with us and sharing his thoughts. Yeah, no, I definitely, I was just about to say that too. I was like, I think, also based off of the company that Sam Raimi is now making this film for, before he was certainly under the Sony banner. Now he's definitely under Marvel. I think if anybody, I don't want to say can keep Sam Raimi's pull his reins in, and keep it a much more controlled environment in regards to the direction that the movie takes, is definitely Marvel. I don't, I'm sure that they definitely are giving Sam Raimi some levels of creative freedom, obviously. especially when he talks a little bit about the improvisation and things like that. But make no mistake, it definitely is Marvel that's shaping the course of this film. So I do think that if anything, they'll definitely allow him to do his thing, but also bring the reins in if it gets a little bit too crazy. And so I think everybody hopefully has learned from the last experience. But again, I do think it's been quite some time. Sam Raimi has made several other movies since then. So I'm not expecting the same hiccups or mistakes that we saw from Spider-Man 3 when it comes to Doctor Strange 2. And in fact, I think he's a perfect addition for this, especially for this character alone. So even though Doctor Strange may not necessarily be his favorite character, I think he clearly enjoys him enough to certainly want to go ahead and tackle him in the movie. So I think it should be fun. I think it should be a crazy film that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, that'd be one of those weird things where I feel like it'd be weird if every director directing a superhero movie just happened to be directing the superhero that's their favorite. So that's like not a surprise and not something I'm worried about. Oh, Doctor Strange isn't his all-time favorite superhero. Does he like Doctor Strange? Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be fun.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's good enough for me, man. That's good enough for me.
Exactly.
But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. You hear this, Sam Raimi talking about a little bit iffy in regards to returning to the comic book movie genre after what happened to him in Spider-Man 3, but deciding to go ahead and take the job either way. Are you excited? Are you worried? Are you pumped for this movie? Go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that topic out of the way, Stuart, we will go ahead and jump into another Marvel topic here. One that's been brewing for the past several months, ladies and gentlemen, in regards to Disney along with Scarlett Johansson, as the lawsuit has officially been settled, ladies and gentlemen. The war of words that have been going back and forth between both of their lawyers has been something for the ages, and something that's been quite entertaining, to certainly say the least, to kind of see exactly what's been going on with Disney behind the scenes, and Scarlett Johansson wanting the money that she certainly felt that she definitely deserved. For those of you who are not familiar with this, Scarlett Johansson wind up suing Disney based off of the idea that she didn't necessarily get her full kickback that she felt she certainly deserved for a Black Widow, based off of her contract with Disney deciding to go ahead and make the movie not necessarily exclusively in theaters, but also theaters along with the streaming service. And Scarlett Johansson was very much under the impression, due to her contract, that it would just be exclusively in theaters. So they've been going back and forth. Some really nasty words have been spewed between the two. We have been seeing over time, though, since that lawsuit wound up dropping, that Disney has made significant changes in regards to some of their actors' contracts. They rewrote one with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Same thing with Emily Blunt. I believe they also did one for Emma Stone in regards to get her to come back for Cruella 2. And just last week, Disney wound up putting out a press release or talking about the idea that going forward, they were certainly going to be looking at their actors' contracts significantly different, writing them differently, since we are in a completely different time with the pandemic and everything that's certainly been going on in regards to how these actors really get sort of their kickbacks from their movies, since some of them will be going either directly to streaming, maybe both in theaters and streaming, or maybe exclusively in theaters. So Disney has at least been paying attention, and it seems rightfully so, because it seems as though Scarlett Johansson and Disney have in fact settled in court, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and dive into this, Stuart. I'll go ahead and bring up this article here. Actually, you know what? Is this the article I want to use? Fuck it. I'll pull this up. It says Scarlett Johansson, Disney settle explosive Black Widow lawsuit. The settlement ends a back and forth PR battle pitting the CAA rep star against a studio that was poised to have dramatic implications for all Hollywood majors. It says Scarlett Johansson and Disney have settled a breach of contract lawsuit over the star's Black Widow payday. It says terms of the deal were not disclosed, though, but Scarlett Johansson did say, "I am happy to have resolved our differences with Disney. I'm incredibly proud of the work we've done together over the years and have greatly enjoyed my creative relationship with the team. I look forward to continuing our collaboration in years to come. We also had Alan Bergman from Disney Studios wind up saying, "I'm very pleased that we have been able to come to a mutual agreement with Scarlett Johansson regarding Black Widow. We appreciate her contribution to the MCU and look forward to working together on a number of upcoming projects, including Disney's Tower of Terror." So they already have a movie lined up for Scarlett Johansson. So they definitely went ahead and certainly made things right. Now, while it doesn't talk about the idea of the terms of the deal being disclosed, I will say that I did go ahead and read an article from Deadline this past week that might have actually shed some light on things. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull this up, because it actually does refer to something, how much money she actually might have taken away from this. Let me see if I can find this in the other.
So Tower of Terror. So she's going to be in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Right. Let me see if Deadline has it up here. For some reason I can't find it. I found the Deadline article itself where it was updated, but for some reason it's not showing me. Well, anyway, the Deadline article,
I remember it said like 40 million, right?
40 million. Yeah, the Deadline article itself did state that that she wound up actually making $40 million off the deal. Oh, yeah, there we go. It says, as is almost the case in these cases, neither side gave any indication of how much was involved in the settlement. However, when all is said and done, the deal will run more than $40 million, sources tell me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, accordingly, the funds will not be paid by Disney in a single lump sum. If you pick up creative accounting, I'm putting down. So yeah, it looks like she in fact will be owed at least $40 million, according to the source from Deadline, even though the Hollywood Reporter is saying that some of the terms of the deal have not been disclosed. So believe what you will in regards to it, but I'm definitely under the impression that the $40 million is definitely something that she wound up winning in this case, on top of the $20 million that Disney says that they already sort of paid her. But you hear this news, Stuart. What do you think about it now that the lawsuit has officially been settled?
I think Disney was definitely acting like childish during the whole thing, because like if they were smart about it, they would have done a settlement under the table and not let this come out to begin with. That she got screwed over from the overall deal, but nope, they really decided to escalate the situation, and so even though it's finally resolved, they still look like children from the way they threw a tantrum about it, to my opinion. But yeah, I'm glad that it's settled, and yeah, it's also not too surprising that she and Disney are still going to have a working relationship, because after all, Disney likes money and they know that hiring Scarlett Johansson equals more money. So of course, despite them probably being bitter about it, they still aren't going to be complete morons about the whole thing. And we're definitely going to be seeing more of her in future Disney projects. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say. The one thing that I thought was really funny, and I think this is something that really kind of proves that that's not the case at all, is there were like people trying to claim that Scarlett Johansson actually did voice her character, Black Widow, in What If, but then they replaced it because of the lawsuit. And I think this kind of confirms that's definitely not the case at all.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know that that was a rumor that some people were saying. I just assumed that she just wasn't a part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that rumor, but that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm just glad that this is finally settled, man. It's one of those things where I think this, for PR purposes for Disney, this was definitely not a good look whatsoever. I mean, just to kind of see not only how Bob Chapek handled this, the current head of over at Disney, and then assigning some lawyers to put together a draft and put together some really just disgusting words towards Scarlett Johansson that felt very much like it was coming out of left field. They really handled this absolutely terribly. And as a company as big as Disney, like, that is just not the type of negative light that you want on your company. I mean, I know they say like all news is good news or whatever the case may be. But this was definitely a bad look on Disney. And it's something that we kind of speculated. Like when it comes to Scarlett Johansson, based off of what her and the rest of her crew wind up doing when it comes to the MCU over the past 10 years of helping build the Marvel Cinematic Universe, her being an integral role in that also for the past 10 years, just being a really great partner with Disney, to kind of come out and throw that type of shade towards her was just really disgusting, honestly. So it's just not the way that you handle things, right, Stuart? And the idea that you said that the fact that this even went public to begin with, I think says something. The fact that they didn't decide to go ahead and keep this hush hush and work behind the scenes to try and actually figure things out, I think it goes to show you the stubbornness that Disney and Bob Chapek had in even wanting to give Scarlett Johansson an inch, right, whatsoever. And so to kind of see this blow up in their face a little bit and actually go public, then to see Disney with all these other actors making significant changes to their contract, it just smelt terrible. I'm just like, oh, okay, so you have a lawsuit with her, but now you're willing to go ahead and make changes and different arrangements with everybody else. That just makes me realize that what you did with Scarlett, you handled that absolutely terribly, and now you're trying to correct your mistake with others before it gets to that point. So the fact again that Bob Chapek and Disney have come out and said that they are reworking actors' contracts certainly going forward. Now with this news certainly falling into our laps, I'm glad that Scarlett wind up getting the victory that she did. And this hopefully will allow, stop allowing other studios to try and skirt by and continue to collect more money for themselves than actually dishing it out to the stars that help put these films together for them. So I'm glad that Scarlett won here. I do think that if anything, maybe going forward with other big studios like Warner Brothers or whatever the case may be, I think they'll definitely be paying attention to details as to how some of these actors certainly should be, how these actors should certainly be made. Now, look, it's, look, I don't make $20 million. So like $20 million alone, that Scarlett Johansson, certainly nothing to sneeze at. Like I would love $20 million to certainly say the least, but I do think it's something important in regards to how you treat your employees and how you take care of the people that have truly taken care of you, certainly over the years. And if she's working hard to bring income in for you, then I definitely do think that she deserves that money that she really worked hard for. So I'm glad that they wind up settling here. Clearly, they've kissed and made up. And yeah, like you said, Stuart, I definitely expect them to have a big relationship, certainly going forward. And I am kind of curious, like, did Bob Iger ever get into discussion here? Did Kevin Feige, did he ever step up and say something or whisper into somebody's ears like, hey, we need to correct this, because if we don't and other actors start seeing how we're treating our talent, they may have second thoughts about wanting to either join the MCU or be a part of the Disney family. And you just don't want to burn bridges like that, especially when you're such a big company like Disney. So I think this was a smart move on their part to at least settle in court here. So congrats to Scarlett Johansson and everybody involved. It was messy, but I definitely hope Bob Chapek and everybody else over at Disney learned their lesson. And hopefully we won't have this debacle again, man. But yeah, times are changing, Stuart, right?
Yeah. You know what I kind of think of this as, actually, now that I think about it more? So The Boys season 2, when you had like kind of the main villain from Vought, and at the very end of the season, everyone's like trying to get their spot back with the Seven, but of course he's not going to take like everyone back. His mentality is, one is forgiveness, two is weakness. I almost feel like that's what was going on with Disney. They were like they like didn't want to give in to Scarlett Johansson because they already screwed up with James Gunn, and then brought him back a little bit later. And I feel like they were just like thinking inside, oh man, if we admit that we're wrong with Scarlett Johansson, then we're going to look so weak because that'll be twice now. That's what I feel like might have been going on like behind the scenes.
Could be. And listen, one thing that I will tell you, and that's the other thing that's a bit disturbing to me, there are some of the articles that I have read, especially in regards to this story in particular. Anytime you get a new sort of management or somebody new that comes in to sort of head the regime, usually when they come into power, we usually get changes behind the scenes, new managers, right? People bringing in their friends that they know to give them bigger positions. I heard that one of the articles that I read was that Bob Chapek brought in one of his longtime friends to be like the PR guy to handle these relations with the actors. And the guy's got like no experience whatsoever. Like he used to be like a past engineer or something like that is what I read. So the idea of knowing how to collaborate, how to negotiate, how to treat actors and things like that, almost non-existent to this guy that Bob Chapek sort of brought in. So I do think that it does showcase who's at the top of Disney, how they're handling it, and the idea of maybe bringing in some friends of theirs that maybe aren't even equipped to handle the positions that they're in, really causing a mess over at Disney, and them really trying to play catch up and make up with everybody now. So I really do hope it just feels different without Bob Iger at the top. I feel like ever since Bob Chapek kind of came into power, Disney has been ruffling some people's feathers, I feel like, and maybe not necessarily making the strongest decisions, to say the least. I feel like even when Bob Chapek was announced as the new, we were hearing a lot of good things, but yet a lot of negative things too from people that have worked under Chapek, especially because I believe he was in charge of the actual Disney parks themselves. And they didn't necessarily have the greatest things to certainly say when it comes to Bob Chapek in regards to how he handles his relations with people, negotiations and stuff, and the idea of bringing in unqualified people for positions they certainly shouldn't own. And I feel like because of that mayhem that's ensued, that's why we've seen Disney ruffling the feathers that we have. So I'm hoping they're learning from their mistakes behind the scenes, man. It definitely worries me in regards to that. I would love Bob Iger back.
Oh yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with you there. Now, one thing I will say that if you bring in a friend to a higher position, like I'm not saying you shouldn't do that at all altogether, because that's honestly like how a lot of people get their jobs that they're at now. It's like it's all because they know a guy who knows somebody. A guy.
Exactly.
But that said, you got to make sure they're at least qualified for those positions you give them. There's nothing wrong with taking a gamble of someone, but when you're putting an engineer to be in charge of PR like that, if that's how it is, like I don't know 100% sure if that's actually the case, but if that is the case, then that's really bad management.
I'll have to find that article again. I can't remember if it was from the Hollywood Reporter, but it was talking about the idea of why the Bob Iger and Bob Chapek relationship kind of dwindled. Why it all kind of went to shit at the end of the day. And it was talking about some sources behind the scenes where we're kind of talking about some of the decisions that Bob Chapek made in regards to being a part of bringing in new people. So I'll have to find the article. Maybe if I can find the article again, I will go ahead and post it somewhere for you guys to certainly check out, because I thought it was pretty interesting insight in regards to what's going on. But yeah, I'll definitely look for it for you guys. But
as
listen,
for,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, one last thing.
Okay.
As for like kind of like what you mentioned about like him already having like a reputation for treating his employees bad. Yeah, there's a documentary, and this was back when he was in charge of just the Disneyland. But there's this documentary of people that have worked at Disneyland their whole lives, and some of them, when they started there back in, I want to say like early 2000s, maybe even 90s, going like really far back, they were able to at least afford an apartment, a place for themselves. Now you got some of those same employees currently living in their cars while still working there.
See, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Yeah, there's even an article that was like, is there a rift between Bob Chapek and Bob Iger? Like apparently they're not even talking to each other, sort of thing. Like some people wonder if Bob Iger just let him shoot himself in the foot and put himself in this situation. I mean, it's pretty crazy to certainly say the least. But there, definitely do your research, guys, in regards to it, because there definitely is a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes at Disney right now that I found rather interesting. All right, guys, but we will go ahead and wrap up that story. But listen, at the end of the day, guys, Disney and Scarlett have in fact settled their lawsuits. There are some reports and sources that are saying that she might have walked away with $40 million plus from this lawsuit. We definitely want to know your guys' thoughts though in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that out of the way, Stuart, we will go ahead and tackle our next Marvel topic for you guys. I feel like over the past couple of weeks, Stuart, we have been talking more and more about the Eternals as we're approaching its release date here in this upcoming November, if I'm not mistaken. This is a film that I'm really looking forward to, but one that honestly, I'm still really confused as to what we're going to be getting. Not confused in a bad way, but a very interesting way in the sense that I don't feel like Marvel has been giving us too many details. And just based off of the time period in which this movie spans, I think there's definitely going to be a lot of stuff that definitely goes down in this movie to help further establish the MCU. But I would be lying, Stuart, if there was a part of me that still does not fully know what this movie is going to be or bring to us. As much as I've seen the great trailers and it looks absolutely beautiful, I think a lot of it has to do with maybe my lack of understanding fully of all these characters, who all these characters certainly are, and the roles that they certainly play. So that's definitely one thing that I'm really looking forward to. And I think when it comes to the MCU, I think a lot of fans are going to be looking forward to this movie also. But this past week, Chloe Zhao did come out and talk a little bit more about the Eternals to give us a little bit more insight on the story itself, and mentions the idea that this plot might actually be split into two different storylines in this movie. Let's go ahead and tackle this story because I'm utterly fascinated by what this could potentially mean in regards to how they're telling the story for this season. So let's go ahead and dive into this. This article comes to us from comicbook.com. It says Marvel confirms Eternals will split the plot in two different storylines. So it says one of the very first things the public found out about the Eternals was that it would take place over thousands of years. The movie is already shaping up to have quite the sizable runtime, and now Marvel Studios has confirmed the movie will take place in two distinct time periods throughout the ages. It says a new press release that's been circulating by Disney. It said Eternals takes place across two time periods while examining the close-knit group of characters that make up this particular team. The story takes place across two time periods. One storyline is set in the past when they operated as a formidable team and a close family unit. It then teases the group's primary opponents, adding the second storyline is in the present when the group has fractured and split apart, content to live among humans, hiding in plain sight. The prevailing threat of the deviants, which once again threatens the existence of mankind, means the Eternals need to put their differences aside and regroup. It says, according to Marvel producer Nate Moore, the movie also hoping to explore another corner of the MCU that is yet to be seen on screen, in the same vein as Black Panther along with Shang-Chi. We want audiences to discover a corner of the MCU they've never seen before. We want them to discover a mythology that is a challenging sci-fi movie, but also has a human heart. And we want to meet 10 heroes who they hopefully can relate to. I continue to be so fascinated by this movie, Stuart. I truly do. I feel like Marvel is certainly saying all the right things to definitely get me interested. But this should be fun. I mean, I feel like just based off of the trailers alone, we have seen the two different time periods that they're clearly talking about as we see the Eternal ship arrive before man has even really found itself in regards to its civilization. We have seen more current times, and I believe even in some of the trailers they've referenced the idea of having to get the gang back together, right? Like with that, they've been split apart for such a long time, they've got to bring their forces back together and actually form that team. So I guess it should be interesting to see this team or see these group of characters as a team very much early on, and maybe some of the catching up that they have to do with one another after so many years have certainly passed, and to really thrust them sort of back into the action. But you hear this from the producers over at Marvel. What are you hoping to get out of this? And does are you intrigued by this concept of two split timelines, or I should say different storylines here? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's actually like one of my favorite ways of telling a story to begin with. Very Christopher Nolan-esque, but
I dig it.
depending on how well it's done, like I think it's a great opportunity to add mystery. And in this case, I think we already know what the mystery is: what happened that caused them all to split after all these years, and what is it going to take to get them back together. That alone is really intriguing. And then the other thing too that we could see is, like, we know that they're fighting these weird monster creatures, and we know that they defeated them before. So I think the big question that people are going to ask, that they're going to be slowly answering, like in the course of the film, is how did they defeat him before, and why can't they use that same tactic again, or can they still use that same tactic again?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. And I do want to know, like, what split them up. I mean, is it a case of like, hey, we defeated the deviants so
Mm-hmm.
many years ago, and there's really no need for us to kind of be together? That feels a little bit weird to me. Like, I just think that if you arrive there as a team, maybe you would still stick as a team even after you've sort of defeated the foe, and maybe go about living your own lives, but maybe from time to time at least still meeting up with them, or hey, let's go out for dinner every Sunday, guys. Let's meet up on the ship and have some interactions or something throughout all these thousands of years. So I am curious as to what split them up and then is forcing them now to kind of get back together.
I got two theories.
Go for it.
Theory number one, it could just be that over time, after they defeated the deviants, that's what the villains are called, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, the
Yeah.
deviants.
After they defeated them, they weren't allowed to return home. They had to stick on Earth, but it was just kind of like one of those things of, well, if we're sticking here, can't we at least, like, make it our home, like actually help out people, like during like big events, and then one of them being like, no, we can't interfere at all, and then that being like the thing that causes tension, is we're forced to stay here but we can't do anything. Theory number two of what it could be is like, with each of them going their own separate ways. Like, it could have been originally that they go their own separate ways, but like, not like in a bad way, more just in a, yeah, I'm just going to hang out here in this area and inspire this culture, well, I'm going to go hang here and inspire this culture. The two cultures probably collide, and both of them want to take their culture's sides, because we kind of see that in the trailer, like they're the ones influencing many different cultures around the world, and I'm really excited to see how that plays out. But that's like another thing that could totally have caused conflict between them.
This now that you mention that, this feels very like Tower of Babel-ish to me. The idea of, like, if you ever read the Bible and stuff, the idea and concept of, like, just these groups of people splitting and, like you said, going their own sort of separate ways, and eventually learning their own cultures and languages and stuff. Like, I do wonder if each of the Eternals sort of represents a different culture that they
Mm-hmm.
maybe went off and, like you said, established and helped kind of grow to the civilization that they certainly are today. So yeah, it definitely gives me that Tower of Babel sort of feeling of, civilization as a whole living together, but then maybe after some sort of event splitting up, and then going across different countries and continents and stuff, and establishing sort of a life of their own to help the civilization continue to grow. So you're right, maybe they eventually grew to have different perspectives and points of view in regards to how involved are we, should we not be that involved, sort of thing. And maybe there were some disagreements and something that maybe kind of split them up, and maybe that's why it's taken them so long to come back together, because they've been out establishing these cultures and things like that. It should be fascinating, man. I agree with you, though. I do like that type of form of storytelling, and I think when we have, especially with the Cersei and Icarus stuff and Black Knight stuff, this potential love triangle that we're going to be getting. I always was under the impression very much that it's the love story that will be pulled over 1,000 years, but it seems as though everybody's story will probably be fleshed out in a sense to really showcase how they've certainly significantly changed over time, and what new forces have kind of come into play now to bring them back together. I'm super fascinated by this movie, man. I really don't know what we're going to be getting. I feel like the trailers have been vague enough to still keep our minds wandering. So I feel like this is another risky move for Marvel, but one that I'm really willing to go ahead and explore with them. I think we might have something really special on our hands. Like, I went into Shang-Chi thinking that I knew what we were going to be getting, and there was nothing like it. I mean, I just went in there wanting a martial arts movie by the MCU, and they gave me so much more. And so I'm really wondering what Kevin Feige and Chloe Zhao and the rest of the team have come up with the Eternals. I think we're in for something special, but I would be interested to know if this is something that will hit everybody. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think one thing that that's kind of funny looking back in 2016 is that I feel like this is the nonlinear storytelling that they might be doing here is kind of the way they wanted to do Doctor Strange, and I think the only reason they didn't is because it came out the same year as Deadpool, and it sounded like the way they were originally going to edit Doctor Strange is that he was going to be Doctor Strange from the beginning, but we would get the flashbacks, like all the scenes that took place in the beginning were actually going to be flashbacks, and my assumption of why they didn't go that route was because Deadpool did that exact thing like 3 months ago. And so they're like, oh crap, we got to re-edit this whole thing. Because you look at quotes from Kevin Feige and he was saying the same thing about Doctor Strange, of how like, oh yeah, this will definitely it'll definitely have an origin story, but he'll be Doctor Strange from the very beginning. So I think like with Eternals, now that they don't have to worry about any movie having that exact like, editing style this same year, hopefully they don't change their mind very last minute and just make it a linear story.
Yeah, I hope not either. I mean, I feel like I think if anything, they'll definitely give Chloe Zhao that opportunity. Is she writing this too?
I don't remember actually.
Let me see. The Eternals.
A lot of times with MCU directors, even if they're not like the main writer of the movie, they do tend to have a lot of creative input into the writing overall. So even if she didn't write the whole film, I'm sure a lot of like the lines that we're going to see, a lot of the story elements are probably going to be from her.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, it does say story by Ryan and Kaz Furpo, but as far as screenplay goes, it does have her name listed on the screenplay as well. So you're probably right. She probably definitely had some influence in regards to putting this story together. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens here. We got Marcelino. He says, Kit Harington playing a knight. Yay, originality.
Here's the funny part of how it all kind of comes full circle is that the very last thing that his brother said to him is, "Hey, the next time I see you, you'll be in all black." But he died before the two of them ever got to see each other again. Yeah. And now here they are seeing each other again as Kit Harington plays the Black Knight.
The Black Knight. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty, it is I will say, I definitely agree with Marcelino in the sense that I do worry. I hope that Kit Harington just doesn't become typecast as like that's the only role that he can eventually play. So I am hoping that Chloe Zhao is able to, as a director, able to bring even more out of Kit Harington to show that, yeah, he's not quite just able to play knights and stuff, that maybe he can expand his horizons a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I definitely hope that Kit Harington doesn't become just typecast into those type of roles going forward. So we'll see. This will be Kit Harington's time to shine. I mean, look, you're part of the MCU now. Let's see if you can make a lasting impression enough for them to want to bring you back. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens there. All right, Stuart, I think with that out of the way, we will go ahead and move on to the next topic. But yeah, guys, we definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts. What do you think about the producer talking about the Eternals, the two different storylines that we're going to be getting spread over time? Definitely go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. And with that, guys, we will transition over to our next topic. While we don't necessarily have any DC topics to certainly talk about today, we do have two more topics that we will be breaking down for you. And I got my favorite Star Wars nerd here to go ahead and dive into our next article. So, Stuart, let's go ahead and take care of this, man, because when it comes to Star Wars television series, there's a lot to certainly look forward to, guys. I mean, at the top, we just talked about the Book of Boba Fett that's going to be dropping later on this year for us. If I'm not mistaken, we also have the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that's going to be hitting us rather soon. Next year, we're going to be having Mandalorian Season 3. And trust me when I say there's plenty more other Star Wars content on television that's being produced for us. But one series, Stuart, that I think continues to either be ignored or not really talked about or hyped up that much is Star Wars Andor, the Cassian Andor sort of prequel television series that we're going to be getting to Rogue One, which, if you ask me, when it comes to Disney era Star Wars movies, Rogue One is the best of the best. It's a movie that I can continue to put on time after time. And Diego Luna has, in fact, returned to go ahead and reprise his role as Cassian Andor. And I got to be honest, I love Diego Luna. I love his career, some of the stuff that he certainly has tackled. And for him to go ahead and get a series of his own, especially when it comes to Star Wars, I'm really pumped for, especially based off of just his excitement alone for this upcoming project. But I feel like it's been kind of hush hush, that there really hasn't been a lot of hype around it, even though we do have some of the returning writers from Rogue One tackling the script of this series. So maybe it's the character itself in Cassian Andor that people aren't necessarily that familiar about or pumped about, but it is definitely tackling an era of Star Wars, sort of very Empire-esque, taking place before the time period of A New Hope and even Rogue One, as we're going to be focusing on the Cassian Andor character. So Diego Luna this week came and talked to Deadline.com about the upcoming Star Wars Andor series and how it's not only finished wrapping filming, so it's definitely headed our way, but that we might see some familiar faces during this particular series as well. So let's go ahead and dive into this, Stuart, because I definitely want to pick your brain in regards to this. And let's talk about Diego Luna a little bit, because he has some things to say in regards to Star Wars. So this is from Deadline.com. Diego Luna says that Star Wars Andor has finished shooting and to expect some familiar faces. It says a smile widens on Diego Luna's face when asked about what's ahead for his Star Wars character Cassian Andor, and in the upcoming Disney Plus series Star Wars Andor. The cheeky grin is a combination of anticipation, excitement, and a splash of secrecy regarding the 12-episode project he executive produced and stars in, set to be released next year. So it's going to be 12 episodes here. He says, you'll definitely see familiar faces, Luna told Deadline about Andor while promoting the return of his Amazon Prime original series, Pani Cerco, on October 8th. I can tell you about this project like no other because I can't spoil the ending if you've seen Star Wars Rogue One already. No matter what I say, I can't ruin the ending. He says, while Luna shares a laugh about how open he is to discuss Andor's big screen demise, he also avoided getting too deep into what lies ahead in the prequel series. He did reflect on the challenge of shooting through the pandemic, though. He says, to be honest, it's been such a blessing to do this job and to do it under these circumstances. I had the chance to work with a team that I couldn't be more proud of and admired more. It's a hardcore moment to be out there shooting, and we were really lucky. We're done with shooting now and getting it ready for audiences to see. While I can't say much, what I can tell you is that the experience was literally a transformation for me. It's something I really wanted to do, and I thought I was not going to be able to do it. I'm more than happy. But yeah, he says Luna is proud to represent the Latino community on a global scale. He credits the response from fans for his success in continuing Andor's story in the sequel and urges viewers to continue to vote with their dollars and their voices. He says audiences can be heard. We have to send a message. We want our stories out there. We want to see and feel represented. We want to connect with those characters and those stories we see in film and all platforms. We have voices as audiences, and we have power. We have to send the right message. When you buy a movie ticket or when you click on various platforms, you're sending a message. And when you don't, you're also sending a message. So let's be responsible, because we can transform things and make sure we represented more and represented better on screen, is what Diego Luna wind up having to say. So while he can't say too much in regards to Andor, Stuart, I will throw this to you first. I think the idea of just the time period in which we're set in here, when he says the idea of maybe you'll see some familiar faces, are there any familiar faces in general that you would like to see pop up in here during this time period? And what are your thoughts and just what he has to say in regards to being a part of this production?
One of the biggest, I'll talk about the familiar faces that I would love to see, but one of them may not actually work. I can't remember if it was established whether or not he knew Saw Gerrera before, but I think it'd be really cool if we got Saw Gerrera back in this series.
That would be cool.
Especially because with him in Rogue One. We see in the very beginning he's not like afraid to make really tough decisions. So I would love to see something like that kind of play out. Like we see him go from being like kind of a rebel, but someone who's like a rebel by the books, I guess you could say, to someone who's willing to make the really bad decisions that essentially borderline can make him almost a villain in a way. So I would love to see that play out, and I think Saw Gerrera would be the perfect way to do that. Saw Gerrera could be the character that shows him that sometimes you have to cross certain lines that you don't want to cross. So that's one thing I would hope for personally for Familiar Faces. As to everything he's saying about the production of it, yeah, I'm not gonna lie at all. I had no idea they were filming this show. I knew it had been announced. I knew that was like in the works. I had no idea they actually started filming in front of the camera, but I'm happy to know it's coming because I did really like his character in Rogue One. I thought he had a really cool, like redemption type of arc at the end, by the end of it. And so I would love to see kind of almost the exact opposite kind of play out in this series, because I think that's something they could do really good at, especially because even in the beginning of Rogue One, when he was like at a much darker place, he was still a likable character. And so I do think you could have that type of character and still make him likable. And in fact, make it even more heartbreaking when he makes those really bad decisions, because you start to enjoy him as a character who originally doesn't want to do those type of decisions, but ends up learning the hard way that sometimes you have to. So I don't know. I feel like there's so much you could do with that in terms of like a television show, and 12 episodes. Wow. I did not expect that.
I didn't expect 12 episodes either.
Yeah, I was thinking it was going to be like Obi-Wan, like a 6-episode miniseries, maybe 9 episodes at the most, but 12 episodes. I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, maybe they got plenty of story to certainly tell for sure. And it does make me wonder if they're tackling it as a 12, that maybe this isn't just a limited series like a one-off. Like if it's that good of a storytelling, I think especially depending on where the starting point for this series is going to be, maybe we do get several different seasons out of it if it's certainly any good. Marcelino Vasquez does say that it is confirmed that Forrest Whitaker will return to play Saw Gerrera in Andor. I haven't read that article, but I definitely will look it up for sure. But yeah, if he does come back, I think it's great. I mean, they could use some de-aging technology if they want to. I don't necessarily know if it's needed. If anything, I mean, we could probably just see Forrest Whitaker in much better shape in regards to not the bionic legs and stuff and all the tubes attached to him. Maybe we do see Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera a little bit more in his prime in here. So I'm really interested to see how that works out. I wouldn't mind seeing like a Mon Mothma pop up in here again. I believe I maybe read somewhere that she probably will be in the series. I would be cool if they decided to somehow give us Tarkin once again. I don't know exactly how much they spent in regards to bringing up Tarkin for Rogue One. But I wouldn't mind maybe seeing this time an actual actor portray Tarkin. I do wonder if maybe we'll get I don't know if this is going to take place before the Rebels timeline. I was going to say maybe Admiral Thrawn also, but they might be holding off on Thrawn until the Ahsoka series itself. So yeah, there are a ton of familiar faces that certainly could pop up in here. I mean, maybe we get another actress that's playing a young Princess Leia at some point in time. I'm expecting maybe Jimmy Smits back as her father. So yeah, there are definitely a ton of familiar faces I'm looking forward to. But I will say this, Stuart, it is funny that you mentioned the idea that you didn't know that this series was actually even filming. I think for me, it just shows you like just how under the radar this series certainly has been the entire time. It definitely has had some hiccups, if I'm not mistaken, though. I believe like they had an entire script for this series written. I don't think they were super pleased with it, so they wind up actually bringing in was it Gilroy? I believe he went ahead. I think he was the original writer or helped with the writing for the Rogue One movie. They wound up bringing him in to certainly make some changes to the script also. So I feel like it's been filming for quite some time, but very much under the radar, and not a lot of people have certainly been talking about it. So I am really eager to see what this is certainly going to turn into. And for me, at least, based off of just the time period in which this is going to be set between A New Hope and like Rebels or during that Empire time. I'm really eager to kind of see just all that gray area that you mentioned that's kind of involved, especially when it comes to Cassian Andor, right? Like we kind of got to see a glimpse of his character in Rogue One, but who was he before that? Was he a little bit more lighthearted, and got introduced to being a part of the Rebels and truly started seeing all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes, and it not really being as black and white as, you know, sometimes it's certainly portrayed. So I definitely want to see what Diego Luna brings to the Andor character, and just seeing his growth throughout this series, and maybe what happens to him that maybe does sort of put that character in the place that we see him in Rogue One. Somebody that's, you know, been through the mud, has been wronged before, has had some really bad stuff happen to him, and he realizes in order to survive, maybe you got to do some things that is a little bit in the gray area, you know what I mean, to go ahead and try and bring peace to this bring peace to the galaxy, if you will. So I'm excited. I think Diego Luna is a fantastic actor, and I definitely do think that he's going to bring it. Because for me, I think anytime that I've seen his interviews, he's been so pumped for this particular series. So glad to be a part of the Star Wars franchise also. So I definitely expect him to put his best foot forward. And I definitely expect some connective tissues to other animated series that are out there around this time period, maybe anything live action connected also. I'm expecting big things from this series, even though it's been very much sort of under the radar. So I hope it surprises many. I truly do, man.
If it goes back far enough, we could even get like a cameo from Han Solo with the actor that they got from the Solo film.
Yeah, definitely. All that is open game to me, you know, especially when we're not, you know, I know a lot of people have been clamoring for maybe like a Solo 2. Even if we don't necessarily get a Solo 2, is there some way that we can incorporate all those great actors that we wind up having from those movies? And I do think that that time period is probably close enough. Yeah, maybe we could see a Han Solo pop up in here, and him and Cassian Andor have an adventure for an episode or two. I think that type of stuff would be really cool, to just to connect the dots and things like that for this universe.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, with it being 12 episodes, something that they could totally do is just have one-off really fun adventure episodes that don't necessarily have to connect to the grander arc. Yes, filler, but
filler. I was going to say,
I
don't
think filler is always a bad thing. Sometimes
Right.
when done right, filler can be really enjoyable. And I think that the Star Wars universe, if you're going to make a TV show in that universe, that's the perfect world to have filler episodes. I think Mandalorian, for example, did a perfect job with it.
Because I think because even though it may not necessarily be pushing the story forward, I think as part of the fandom, you love just seeing connective tissues. So like, even if you're just dropping Easter eggs or little connective tissues to other bigger scheme of things, like, and it's again, when it comes to like a quick reference to like Power Rangers Dino Fury, right? Like the idea that, hey, we may not necessarily be able to have a gigantic crossover event, but to appease some of the fans here, we'll drop some Easter eggs, we'll drop some connections, even if it's not a super pivotal episode. You, as a fan, I think you still enjoy it because it does connect to the bigger overall piece of that type of stuff. So yeah, 12 episodes, was not expecting that at all, but to me that tells me they have a very well and thought out storyline that potentially doesn't scream limited series to me, that there could be potential that if this gets picked up and is enjoyable, we could get more of this. So I am open to that. I really am.
Yeah, again, it kind of all depends on when it takes place, because if it takes place like years before Rogue One, then yeah, I'd definitely be open to multiple seasons. Obviously, you know, you end it right where Rogue One picks up, you're kind of screwed. You kind of shot yourself in the foot there.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. Can't really tell too much story with them. But yeah, even in the article laughs about how Diego Luna's like he continues to poke fun about his character's demise. Like, hey, you guys already know how the story ends, right? Like I can't really spoil
exactly.
where my character goes. You guys already seen it. But yeah, definitely keeping his mouth shut on what we're going to be getting from Andor. But another series, guys, for you guys to certainly look forward to if you're big Star Wars fans. Do not sleep on Star Wars Andor, ladies and gentlemen, because I think Star Wars is going to be taking over when it comes to television for a while now. But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. You hear this from Diego Luna. Are you like Stuart? Did you even know that Andor was being filmed at this time? Now knowing that we're going to be getting it next year, what's your level of excitement? What are you looking forward to? And any familiar faces you would like to see pop up in the series? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. All right, Stuart. And with that out of the way, we've got one more topic that we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. And that is in regards to the Amazon Prime series, The Boys, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting ourselves ready for a season 3 here, hopefully rather soon. I'm not quite sure exactly when that season drops, but I believe it's like right around the corner. Maybe this month, maybe next month. Stuart, do you know?
I actually have no idea. If it is sometime soon, then awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to be here before we know it, though. But we recently talked about it, maybe sometime a couple months back, that when it comes to The Boys, the series itself is growing so much that you now have an opportunity to go ahead and spin off this series if you certainly wanted to. And that's exactly what Amazon Prime is certainly doing, as they have a Boys spin-off series that is currently in development that I think is going to be taking place and really focusing more on the teenagers, if you will, the college years for superheroes as they go ahead and try and become full-fledged superheroes of their own. Well, this past week, guys, up until this point, it feels very much like the Boys spinoff series was going off without a hitch. But this past week, it seems as though a wrench has certainly been thrown into this spinoff series as we have ourselves brand new showrunners for the show. What could that potentially mean for the series? Let's go ahead and dive into this, Stuart. I was not expecting this whatsoever. But yeah, according to the Hollywood Reporter, the upcoming Boys spinoff series a go at Amazon with new showrunners. So let's go ahead and dive into this article. It says the Boys spinoff is moving forward at Amazon. The retail giant streamer has handed out a series order for its college set spinoff from Eric Kripke's breakout superhero drama. As part of the pickup, we've got Michelle Fazekas and Tara Butters, who previously oversaw ABC's Marvel drama Agent Carter, have boarded the untitled series as showrunners. The longtime writing duo take over for Craig Rosenberg, who departed the drama following creative differences with Amazon and producers. It says, in the works for more than a year, the Untitled series is set at America's only college exclusively for young adult superheroes run by Vought International. It's described as an irreverent, rated R series that explores the lives of hormonal, competitive superheroes as they put their physical, sexual, and moral boundaries to the test, competing for the best contracts in the best city. It's part college show, part Hunger Games, with all the heart, satire, and raunch of The Boys. Let's see here. It also says that the two writers executive produce alongside the Boys showrunner in Kripke as well. And these two writers, it looks like they've also worked on Law and Order SVU, Reaper, Emergence, and the X-Files as well. So yeah, Stuart, this is rather interesting to me, man. Listen, I was a big fan of Agent Carter, but if I could be honest, I don't really know too much outside of what these two ladies have actually worked on to kind of get me even more hyped for this. I mean, I was already excited for the show. I definitely am still excited for the show, to be perfectly honest with you. But anytime we do have a changing of the guard, new creative differences, it does make me wonder what the show could have potentially looked like and what it will now sort of look like. And I enjoyed Agent Carter for the most part, but again, it is one of those things, I'm not too familiar with their past work. So the idea, like when I think of Agent Carter, I don't think of hormonal and competitive and raunchy, right? So it does feel like a little bit out of, out of the realm of what these two have worked on before. But again, I haven't really seen too much of their other work outside of Agent Carter. So is there a little bit of a worry for me? Probably. I probably shouldn't be, though. It seems as though, I mean, they definitely have the experience for other series that they've worked on to go ahead and tackle this. But I always feel anytime that there is a changing of the guard, when you start saying creative differences, I am curious as to what it is that Amazon truly wants this show to definitely become. Like, was it not raunchy enough? Was it not competitive enough? I do wonder what it is that these new showrunners will bring that the other ones certainly didn't. And when they mentioned the idea that this has been in development over the past year or so, and now you're telling me that we're getting new showrunners, I wonder, like, when did these showrunners come into play? Did you have everything ready to go, and then last minute you're changing things? So I feel like there's a bigger story here that I would like to learn a little bit more about before I give my full confidence behind this. But there is a little bit of sense of worry for me. I probably shouldn't be. But it is a little bit worrisome for me. But what do you think about this article here? We've got new showrunners, most notably known for their time at Marvel with their Agent Carter stuff. Were you a fan of that series? And do you think they can make that transition from something like an Agent Carter to here when it comes to the Boys spinoff?
So, like, I really enjoyed Agent Carter season 1, but I didn't even finish season 2 for the longest time just because it was really hard to get into compared to the first season. It felt like completely different writing staff. I don't know if that was like the case or not, but it just didn't feel like the same show essentially. But like in terms of it being very different though, with this being like a college kind of comedy with superheroes compared to Agent Carter, I'm not too worried in that sense because you look at The Boys and then you look at the show that the guy worked on before, Supernatural. Those two shows couldn't be like any more different. So I don't think like it being different from what they worked on before is going to be worrisome. As like you, I actually don't know what they've worked on before, but I do think that if Amazon chose them, there's probably some, because Amazon's been doing pretty good so far at choosing the right people to work on the right projects. So there is probably something that they were able to pitch to them that Amazon's just like, yes, this is the exact type of show we want for our streaming service. But hearing that it's going to keep all the same elements that they originally wanted beforehand, I'm honestly not too worried in the show like completely changing its structure too much. I think there will be changes obviously from what they originally planned, but I don't think it's going to be like a huge difference. I think the overall like type of show that we're going into is going to be the same. So yeah, I'm still definitely looking forward to this regardless of who's show running it. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do see here that, yeah, she a Law and Order writer, Special Victims Unit for a while. I am also showing here. Let's see, Reaper definitely listed on there. They definitely have X-Files up there, also Emergence. So it definitely feels as like if there is anybody that definitely has range in regard to tackling different elements, different types of themes, and things like that. These two ladies might actually be able to make it happen, because it does feel like when you look at their IMDb page, it doesn't feel like each of the shows tend to be the same, that they are at least expanding their horizons in regards to just tackling different types of stories. So maybe they just have that ability to be able to adapt to any sort of situation that you kind of put them in. So yeah, I am seeing a lot of executive producing for these shows and writing as well. So very much involved. But we'll see what happens when it comes to this spinoff. We haven't really gotten too much additional information in regards to it, but it does sound promising to me. It almost sounds like a very sort of grown up My Hero Academia almost to a certain extent. And so I think it should certainly be interesting. But guys, we want to know your thoughts. You hear the fact that this Boys spinoff has brand new showrunners. I'm going to be really anticipating, and once it actually gets in front of the camera, if it hasn't already, seeing some of the set photos and what we could potentially be getting. I've been such a big fan of the Boys. Like, it would be hard for me to imagine that that Amazon would want to mess up their very first spinoff. So I really do think that they're probably really doing whatever they need to behind the scenes to make sure that they have the correct creative people on board. With this being your first spinoff from a very popular series, yeah, you don't want to go ahead and drop the ball in regards to that. So we'll see what these ladies can certainly provide. But I was a fan of Agent Carter, at least for its first season. The second season, like you, Stuart, while I didn't purposefully fall off because I wasn't enjoying the show, there was just so much other content on TV that I just wind up missing the first season of the second season itself. But we'll see what these ladies can certainly provide and bring to the Boys.
Something I expect, I'm sure we're gonna get like a lot of scenes of, with this being like a college show now. You remember in season 1 when they go into that one club and you just see like all the weird type of partying that people are doing with their superpowers.
Yeah.
One shot in particular, I feel like we're gonna get more of those, like more party scenes of people just, you know, having the weird, like whether it be like weird college games or just weird college hazing. I feel like we're gonna see like directions of that, but involving with superpowers, and it's going to be weird.
This is gonna be this is gonna be the most immature shit I think we've seen
Oh
from the
yeah,
boys for sure, and I cannot wait for it, honestly.
it's going to be like one of those, you're going to walk, like someone can walk into a scene like without the right context and be like, okay, what the hell are you watching? But then it's like, you know, when you watch it from beginning to end, you're going to be like, oh no, this is actually really good. Because I feel like that's how it is with the boys. There's like a lot of people that don't get into that show because they see a lot of the really raunchy, immature scenes like out of context. And, you know, that's where I'm like defending the show. I'm like, no, I swear it's not what you think. You got to like actually watch it all the way through to get that, though.
Yeah, no, I definitely get you for sure, man. All right, guys, but yeah, we want to know your thoughts in regards to this. The Boys getting a brand new showrunner. I should say the Boys spinoff getting a brand new showrunner. What do you guys think about the change? Do you think this is going to be a successful changing of the guard? And what's your level of excitement for this upcoming Boys spinoff? Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Stuart. This is going to be a lot of fun and a lot of immaturity certainly happening here.
Could I give one last thought of
Yeah, go
one
for it.
thing they could totally do that would be fun? So in the show, there's like a lot of implications that there's like a lot of superhero teams out there because they will like oftentimes name drop certain superhero groups, and it's clear that these superhero groups are meant to be like a parody of another superhero group. So with this, with them being in college and essentially working their way up to joining a new superhero group, that's what it sounds like the goal of their college is. I'd be kind of intrigued to find out about other groups out there, and you know, the type of parodies they can kind of come up with those.
Yeah, no, though I definitely would like I definitely personally would like to see that also. Different teams and stuff like I wonder if there's a team out there of like, do they have their parody of like a Teen Titans group already kind of put together? You know what I mean? I definitely would like to see how that plays out.
Just totally like just kind of do like a little tease at the Titans show on HBO Max, just like wait, why am I joining the Teen Titans? I'm an adult. Yeah, do you really think any of them are actually teenagers?
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. That'd be hilarious. All right, guys. I think with that out of the way, that will be our last topic for the day and wrap things up for us here in regards to all of our topics. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly coming through and giving your thoughts on all of these articles. And remember, guys, throughout the week, if you happen to read a news article or a report, or you watch an episode that you want to further discuss and talk to us about, feel free to go ahead and do so. And then feel free to send us any live viewer questions that you certainly might have. If you want to go ahead and submit a live viewer question, you can do so anytime during the week at aplusopinions@gmail.com. Again, aplusopinions@gmail.com. And we'll definitely get to all of your questions towards the end of the episode. Sometimes we can't get to everybody's comments in the live chat, but this is our way of definitely making sure that we get your topics discussed. So again, anytime during the week, aplusopinions@gmail.com. And Stuart, are you ready to go ahead and tackle some questions, man, as we wrap up this week's episode?
Always.
Let's do it, man. All right. First couple of questions come to us from Jessica Friedman. When do you think Yolanda Wildcat will come back to the JSA? And is there an unknown Marvel or DC hero that you would like to see get a movie or a TV show? You can answer the Stargirl question since you've been following with it.
For Yolanda, man, that's a tough one. I do think it's going to be another couple episodes at the very least, because man, I think, you know, so like in my previous reviews, I was like, I had one theory, but now I think it's all just Eclipso. So this isn't a huge spoiler for you, Adam, but Eclipso is able to make people see things that aren't actually there. Oh. And we get like an episode with Yolanda going through some stuff, and it's implied that it might be something else, but I think they are, just based on the events that we got in the previous episode, I think they are going to confirm that it was Eclipso messing with her the entire time. But but the things that he showed her were definitely very traumatizing. So she's definitely going to need a minute to herself, understandably. So
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
I'm definitely think it's going to be a couple of episodes.
Oh man, okay. I'm already, first off, I'm already eager to watch this season. When I was getting ready to watch Supergirl a couple weeks ago, I remember turning it on and there was like maybe 2-3 minutes left of Stargirl left, and I remember seeing Eclipso in physical form, like costume and everything, walking through the shadows. It was such a cool shot to actually see him on screen. So I'm really eager to see just his impact on the team this year. Is it much darker than season one?
Much darker. I think Eclipso might be one of the best live action DC supervillains out there. He's definitely like probably the scariest cable network villain like I think I've ever
Mm,
seen.
okay.
Because yeah, just the way they've been using him in this show has been absolutely amazing. The way they've slowly built him up, and the fact that the slow buildup that we got to him was not disappointing at all. And now that he's at his full power, we're really seeing what it is that he can do to people. And like, it's the scary part about it is that it's not the fact that he's like physically powerful; it's that mentally he really knows exactly how to get into people's heads and how to completely break them from the inside. I think the only exception with that was Beth. Like, she's kind of so far the only one who's been able to really overcome like all of Eclipso's like mental games essentially.
Okay. All right. Damn, I'm gonna have to check it out then, man. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, you're gonna
Let's
love it.
let's see here. And she also asks, is there an unknown Marvel or DC hero that you would like to see get a movie or a TV show?
Oh, unknown.
I was thinking the other day, I ran across an old school Plastic Man live TV show that I
Oh,
don't
really?
necessarily recall. Um, give me it made me not necessarily a movie or a TV show, but I'd be open to a Plastic Man animated series.
Um, Remind me about this question after the other live viewer questions because I'm sure I'll have someone for that. Just
Okay,
currently, I
we'll come
can't
back
really
to it.
think of one.
Yeah, no problem. She also says, any expectations of what you would like to see next season for Superman and Lois? They did just highlight an article this past week over on our Facebook page that they did. They brought somebody else in for the DoD this year.
Oh
They have a
yeah.
new actor that's going to be portraying a lieutenant, I believe, at the DoD. Let me see if I can pull up that article. But anything in particular you want to see for season two?
Yeah, I would love to actually see the DoD have to act as an antagonist now that Sam Lane is no longer in charge. And that's what we might get with this guy. I remember Tyler Hecklin made a video about it because he's like vlogging to himself and then about being back on set. And then he points the camera, goes, "Hey, wait, what are you doing here?" And then points the camera at the actor. And I think what people are saying is a big deal about that is that the two of them were on Teen Wolf together, and
Mhm.
I guess they played really good friends. And now with this guy being in charge of the DoD, I'm wondering if now they're gonna be kind of like or if he's gonna be like kind of an antagonist now.
Not necessarily working as closely with Superman as they used to be. Yeah, it says
Yeah.
Teen Wolf alum Ian Bohan is set for a multi-episode arc on the upcoming second season. Bohan will play Lieutenant Mitch Anderson, the metaphorical new sheriff in town at the DoD. His worldview divides into two types: those you serve and those who serve you. He doesn't like that Superman exists outside of that paradigm and tries to bring the Man of Steel under his authority officially. So yeah, there's your antagonistic mindset already that we should be expecting for season two. Good.
Oh, okay. So I got an answer to the first part of the question now.
Oh, okay.
We technically got her in Birds of Prey, but I think I've mentioned many times, nothing against the actress that played her. That's just not how I would have done Cassandra Cain at all.
Mhm.
But I would love to see like a comic book accurate Cassandra Cain movie with you. You could even keep the same actress. You just got to completely rewrite her character and explain this isn't the same one she played in Birds of Prey.
I get you for sure. I get you for sure. Yeah, because I would love to see that. Doomsday says, "Can you do your best impression of It's a Me, Mario? It's a me, Mario."
It's going to be embarrassing. It's a me, Mario.
I love it. I love it. Based on the name Captain America, the Winter Soldier, who did you originally think was going to be the main antagonist? Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, or Alexander Pierce? I assumed it was Bucky.
Yeah, I actually don't know who Alexander Pierce is.
And that was the Shield guy, the head of
Oh,
Shield that was that Nick Fury was under. That he had that close relationship
oh,
with.
okay, yeah. Now,
Yeah.
now I know. Okay, yeah. No, I didn't expect him to be the main villain at the end. I actually did think he was meant to be like an actual good mentor figure, but of course, you had the twist at the end. But yeah, with Bucky, like, of course, like I definitely expected him to be the villain from the beginning because, like, even though I never read like the Winter Soldier comic books, I did know of the story, so I kind of knew what to expect on that end.
And then he says, so a couple of months ago, we got news that Shang-Chi would have a 45-day exclusive theatrical release starting November 3rd. And I was wondering, when will the 45 days for Shang-Chi end? We just got to count 45 days after September 3rd, and you got your question. You got your answer there. But no, I want to say it's becoming available in November over on Disney Plus. Shang-Chi, Disney Plus. Let me see, because I thought I read something. Yeah, it's home release date confirmed for November. Let me see.
Not that it matters because you guys should be seeing this in theaters regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. It says Shang-Chi is punching its way onto your TV. It says it debuts on digital platforms November 12th. And on 4K, yada yada, November 30th. It says Shang-Chi premiered only in theaters last month, and it didn't stream on Disney's own streaming service, but it will be available for all Disney Plus subscribers November 12th.
Okay.
So there you go. November 12th, Shang-Chi. You can watch it as much as you want, which I probably will be watching it again for sure. And I think Black Widow comes out this month too on Disney Plus. So both of the newest Marvel movies will be made available. So I'll definitely will be enjoying them a second and third time. Let's see here. AJ's got a couple questions. With the Armageddon crossover coming on season 8 of The Flash, if you have read the comics or not, what do you want to see in the crossover and for the season of The Flash itself? I haven't read the Armageddon crossover from the comic book, so I'm not exactly sure all that it tackles. I believe that is the crossover event that actually introduces the character, the Wave Rider, for the very first time. Not the ship, because in the comic books, the Wave Rider is an actual character. Whether or not it becomes an actual character in this crossover, I have no idea, but they may be taking a little bit of their own individual liberty. So I really have no expectations going into this crossover event, Stuart. Have you read the comics, and is there anything from the crossover that you would like to see, or from this season of The Flash in general?
I guess for because I don't want to bring up anything that I've already brought up with the crossover. So I think if I'm going with something new to talk about what I want to see, I really hope they do a good job with the CG for I forgot the main villain's name already. But the essentially the main antagonist for Armageddon, because it looks like they are going to go for a mostly fully CGI character, which is fine. I just hope they're smart about how they use it sparingly, and they're not like overusing it, causing it to look like really bad or anything like that. Yeah, I also really hope to see some really great interaction between some of these characters, because I know that obviously due to COVID restrictions, understandably, they weren't able to get everyone on set at the same time. So I know that we're not going to get like a full team up with everyone working together, but I hope like the little character moments that we get between, the small crossovers between all of them, I really hope like they think through the dialogue between that, because, those are the things that I really look forward to the most, is kind of the character chemistry, and then just like the overall dialogue exchanges that we get between them.
Yeah, I think for me, that's probably the aspect that I'm really looking forward to, is just the interactions, some of the conversations and dialogue that they wind up having. I really do like sets of characters that they have certainly bringing back. I'm really looking forward. I think the two that I'm really looking forward to being in here is Mia Smoke and Jefferson Pierce. Are the two that I'm really looking forward to the most. So yeah, I definitely want to see how that works out for them, because it's funny. The past couple of episodes in Supergirl, they just had David Harewood, not David Harewood. I'm sorry. David Ramsey, who played Diggle, he popped up on Supergirl like 2 weeks ago or so to kind of help motivate Kelly to become the newest Guardian. And I love the fact that Diggle name drops Jefferson Pierce in that episode, talking about that he learned a very valuable lesson from him, or some advice that he had heard, or something like something along the lines of like, be a hero for the people, or something like that, in regards to the community and stuff. So I really want to see like, there's any other nuggets of Jefferson Pierce knowledge that he wants to go ahead and drop. And for me, I think when I watch Crisis, one of the interactions that I absolutely love that I didn't get enough of was Barry Allen and Jefferson Pierce. Like, I really wanted to see them talk a little bit more. So I'm hoping we get a little bit more moments like that for this crossover event. But I'm excited for it. I truly am, because I don't think I have any expectations. I don't know what to expect or have read the comic book. So I really am going in here blind. And I think for me, that's part of the enjoyment, I think, going into this crossover.
I think the one thing that kind of gets me worried about it is just how much the showrunners are really trying to not get your expectations too high for this, because going as far as to say that they're not even considering it a crossover, even though by definition it definitely is a crossover. So like, yeah, that's kind of probably the one thing that worries about me, is that it almost comes off at times like there's a lack of confidence with the writing staff. So I really hope once we actually see the product, we'll be like, oh, okay, no, it was really good at the way it was. The writers didn't need to downplay it this much. But I guess that's something we're definitely gonna have to wait and see on. I hope we get a trailer during DC Fandom.
Oh, that would be nice. I hope so too. Is that coming before? That's dropping before the series returns?
I believe so, because I don't think the Flash comes back till like November, right?
Oh, you might be right. You might be right. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do give us some new trailers in general for a lot of these seasons that we're going to be getting. It might be like perfect timing just before they return.
Oh yeah, so it's November 16th is when the first episode of season 8 is going to premiere. So, and then DC Fandom is I believe October 17th, right?
Let me see. DC Fandom. When did you say the first date for please verify my age? That's why just to get to your website.
For the Flash, it was November 16th.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they'll definitely be back by then. It says it's 12 days away. Why don't you just give me the actual dates, damn it? Don't make me do math in my head. So 12 days away from today is DC Fandom. What is that? 12 days away? So it's the 15th. So yeah, we probably will be getting a bunch of trailers, I think, for these upcoming shows before they actually even hit.
Awesome.
Let's see here. Without spoiling anything, so non-spoilers here. What did you think of Venom 2? Have you seen it yet, Stuart?
I haven't, but funny enough, I already do know about the after credit scene. So like in terms of the big picture, I already kind of know what happens. But I haven't actually seen the movie yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen Venom 2 yet. I am going tonight though. Me and the girlfriend do have tickets for an 8:00 showing for Venom 2. We actually just watched we rewatched Venom yesterday. And so going into the sequel, I am excited for it. One of the things that I mentioned was the two things that make me excited for the movie: Andy Serkis directing, and of course Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy as Carnage. I'm really looking forward to it. But I even rewatching Venom for like the second time or third time yesterday, still have the problems with it that I do. Don't mind the movie. There are aspects to it that I certainly do enjoy, but I got to tell you, man, all the solo Eddie Brock stuff, I really could care less about, man. I truly could. The moments that I truly enjoyed were anytime we got action, anytime Venom was on screen, and anytime we got the partnership between Eddie Brock and Venom. Like those were my favorite moments. But anything that just focuses solely just on Eddie Brock and his life and his ex-girlfriend, I didn't care about. I honestly thought him and the Michelle, I can't remember her last name off the top of my head. I didn't like their chemistry together whatsoever. It was cringeworthy at moments for me. I just wasn't the biggest fan. And while I completely respect Tom Hardy and think he's a fantastic actor, I personally don't like his take on Eddie Brock. I don't like the way that he performs him. You know, I'm sure he had choices in different ways that he could approach the Eddie Brock character. For me, like just his dialect, the way that he talks, the way that he handles himself, I'm just not a fan of Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock by any stretch of the imagination. So again, any of Eddie Brock's personal life stuff I really could have done without, but I loved all the stuff involving Venom, and so that's what made the movie fun for me in any aspect. So I'm hoping that when I go into Venom 2, I'm kind of expecting the same, but we'll see what happens. I have not had anything spoiled for me as of yet. I just know that there's a big sort of post-credit sequence that I'm looking forward to seeing. But so I am looking forward to it. But I have no idea what we're gonna be getting. And he also says if you haven't seen it, why do you um why do you think both Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 were both letdowns?
Well, with Spider-Man 3, I feel like it was just because they had a very different movie ready to start before they decided to add Venom into it. And Amazing Spider-Man 2, the main reason was because Sony wanted to set up a franchise. They didn't want to make a movie. So I think what happened is they had so much invested into the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and they thought the profits from this movie would help set up their own like Spider-Man cinematic universe. Like they were hoping that this movie's profits would alone give them the budget that they needed for the Sinister Six, for Venom, and then for, I think they were also working on Black Cat, if I'm not mistaken.
Silver
and then,
Sable.
plus they wanted 2 more Amazing Spider-Man movies. They wanted to make it 4 movies altogether. So I think they tried to do too much in just one movie. And so when the movie, it didn't do bad. Let me say that it actually did really good in box office, but it definitely didn't hit the $1 billion thing like they thought it was going to. And I think that was like kind of the main letdown for them. They basically made it to be a big trailer, and it didn't work out. So you gotta make those individual movies good first before you move on. And I think they figured that out now. Like, even though, again, I'm not the biggest fan of Venom, at least Venom doesn't feel like it's there just to set up like other Sony movies going forward. It felt like its main purpose was to be a solo film. And I think
the first Venom,
for the first Venom, and it looks like we're getting the same thing with the upcoming Morbius movie. That's why I'm really looking forward to that. Like, despite it being part of that Sony Marvel universe, it does seem like it's trying to tell its own solo story first before like moving into like anything in the bigger universe.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. I'm gonna see if I can maybe get Indy to do, because I know he did do I know Indy did get the opportunity to see Venom 2. I might see if I can get him to do a non-spoiler review for Venom 2. And I'm sure maybe after, once I see it here this later on tonight, I might want to do a spoiler discussion to talk a little bit about it. If you guys would like to do a spoiler discussion, let me know your thoughts in the live chat if that's something that you guys would be interested in checking out if we did a spoiler discussion for Venom 2. Real quick here for Power Rangers Ready, he says, oh, I hope Ryan Choi is more utilized than he was in Crisis. I hope there's a reason he's coming back. Without spoiling it, I will say we definitely have seen some set photos of the upcoming crossover, and Ryan is very much involved, to say the least. So it should be interesting to see how else it all plays out. What did you think of the first Doctor Strange film? Were you guys excited when the movie first was announced, or you went in blind? Honestly, when it comes to the first Doctor Strange film, I was fascinated by it, especially after seeing the trailers. I kept thinking to myself, this is a movie that needs to be seen on the big screen in hell, maybe even in 3D. And I know a lot of people probably are not the biggest fan of 3Ds, but I guess just based off of the movie itself, I thought this warrants a big screen in 3D. And you know what happened, Stuart? I didn't even see Doctor Strange in the movies, man. I completely missed it.
Really?
I completely missed it in movies, and I didn't watch it until I actually rented it or actually bought the DVD, the Blu-ray itself, which says something. So I was excited, but I don't think that the trailers really got me super pumped for it, because I clearly didn't even make it out to the movies to check it out. But it was an okay film. I don't necessarily like, I put it in the good tier. I wouldn't put it in like the god or like great tier of Marvel movies, but I enjoyed it for certainly what it was. I think it's a movie, I think out of the MCU movies that I haven't watched multiple times, that's definitely up there. I think I've maybe only seen Doctor Strange twice. It just hadn't had that much replay ability for me to kind of go back. Not to take anything away from it, but I just thought it was an okay film. What did you think about the first Doctor Strange, though?
I actually, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's. Oh,
wait, I was gonna say, did you have big expectations for it, or did you go in blind?
Yeah, I think I had pretty decent expectations for it, only because of the trailer showing us like the really interesting visual effects that they were going to be doing. I think I was looking forward to seeing that on the big screen, and that was like the thing that was not a letdown. The one thing I wasn't the biggest fan of with the movie, and I actually brought this up earlier when we were talking about it, is I just feel like the story structure felt too generic, and I think it would have really helped to do a non-linear version of it. Like I would actually kind of. I might actually do that later. Go in, re-edit Doctor Strange, but like tell it the same way that the way that Deadpool does it, because I think it could have been a lot better that way if it was structured differently. But like as a movie as a whole, though, I thought it was good overall, and it still like has some of my favorite visual effects to look at when it comes to the MCU. So I really look forward to seeing how they bring those visuals to life in not only Spider-Man No Way Home, but especially with the upcoming Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, because I feel like I feel like Sam Raimi is going to have a lot of fun with those powers.
Yeah, I think so also. I definitely think so also. Let's see here. All right. Next set of questions. Marcelino Vasquez has a couple questions for us. Why didn't James Gunn give his Suicide Squad movie a secondary title? Similar to how Captain America movies don't have numbers, but are instead called First Avenger, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Suicide Squad second title could have been titled Assault on Jotunheim, Suicide Squad versus Starro the Conqueror, or anything else. Yeah, why do you think James Gunn decided not to give it another title? Very close to the very first Suicide Squad movie, just with "the" in the front of it. You would think maybe they would be a little bit more creative, but any ideas maybe?
Honestly, I think it was just because James Gunn didn't have control over it. I feel like that was a Warner Brothers decision. And yeah, and I think that decision came from them being like, hey, no. This isn't like the Suicide Squad movie we made before. This is the Suicide Squad. This is the one
that we want to go see. I love it. What did you think of the Snake Eyes movie?
Haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet? No. Okay, I think I remember you telling me you hadn't seen it before. It was just meh to me. Granted, this is coming from a guy who's not too informed when it comes to Snake Eyes, a real origin story from the comic books itself, or I should say the cartoons. So I get the idea of Hasbro maybe putting its own liberties and trying to fully flesh out the character for the most part. But you know what? Like, I go into this movie, Stuart, and I think to myself, Snake Eyes is like pretty much the villain of this movie.
Really?
Just in the sense that, like, I feel like some of his actions, like the actions that he causes really puts sort of one of the characters in a really tough position, and he gets a lot of the blame and a lot of the ramifications of what happens, but like Snake Eyes doesn't really get any form of punishment in a sense. Like he's used in a sense to acquire information that he's been wanting for years in regards to the Snake Eye character. So he's kind of playing like this undercover sort of role, if you will, and he's doing everything he's absolutely supposed to until he gets to a point where he's like, I fucked up. I need to make things better. And then by that time, it's like, bro, you done fucked up. Like you done caused so much mayhem around you that it's now like causing our one of the characters in here to feel some type of way, cause a rift between their friendship, and eventually I'm assuming this guy goes on to become a villain or whatever the case may be. But like when I look at the Snake Eyes movie, I think to myself, Snake Eyes, you're the problem of this movie. And he gets rewarded with a position, he gets rewarded with a effing costume. I didn't really care. It didn't really hit me, man. The action, awesome. Awesome. Action was awesome. Guns, sword fighting, everything that you would want in the G.I. Joe when it comes to action, great. Didn't even mind the acting for the most part. I think the guy that does Stormbreaker was like the strongest actor in this entire movie. Seeing, was it Scarlett, I think, pop in here was pretty cool too. I just didn't like what they did with the Snake Eyes character, and they made him more of a villain to me than an actual hero in this when you see the results of his actions. So for me, I didn't really care for it, man. It was okay, but I didn't really care for it to see it again. And mind you, I watched the movie once, didn't really care for it, and trailed off. But I said to myself, you know what? I am going to give this movie its fair shot, and watched it a second time. And I didn't care for it that much, man.
I still do want to check it out at some point, but I'll have to keep that in mind. Yeah, I feel like Snake Eyes is a challenging character to do a movie on, because he's literally his intention when he was first created for the cartoon was to be a insert character type of person. Like that's why he didn't speak and everything, and that's why you never saw his face. You were supposed to be able to insert yourself into that role and be like, hey, I'm really cool silent protagonist. So yeah, it's a really challenging character to pull off.
It is, which I don't fault Hasbro for trying to make something original. I just wish the execution of it, or them maybe just have gone in a different direction. I don't mind the idea of you giving this guy a past and understanding where he's at in his life, sort of thing. But I just wish that the story had been just a little bit different. It's just a little bit underwhelming for me, unfortunately. But listen, if you guys like Snake Eyes, not taking anything away from you guys, I definitely would love to know some of your reasons as to why you enjoyed it, for sure, in the live chat or the comment section box below. But yeah, for me, I didn't really care too much about it. Has the pandemic caused you to get fatigue on your movie and TV show enjoyment? Honestly, it kind of has. I can't lie. I asked this because ever since the pandemic happened, I've been able to binge watch movies and TV shows I didn't have time for. It was fun at first, but over time I got fatigued now that I have the time for it. It's almost like, what's the point? I just recently watched Shang-Chi, Raya and the Last Dragon, WandaVision, Black Lightning, Demon Slayer, Black Widow, and Cruella. Normally, I would be invested in these movies and TV shows, would even be my favorite, but because I've been so fatigued, it caused me to think ahead of the movie and figure out its patterns, which is why I've been avoiding TV lately, because I don't want my opinion of the movie or TV show to be that I get fatigued. I will say, I don't necessarily know if it's the pandemic alone or if it's just the manner of the business that we're into, Stuart, in regards to reviewing so much stuff. You know what I mean? That for me, sometimes it can be a little bit fatiguing, and having to keep up with what's the newest big thing out there, right? Like what's the newest release? What's the newest series or the newest movie? There's a lot of content out there. I think so for me, because of the amount of content, I think that's fatiguing for me. I don't know if it's necessarily the pandemic that's done that. But what about you though? Has the pandemic made you fatigued of some movies or TV shows and things like that?
Not too much really. I mean, I think it's just because I naturally just watch a lot of movies and TV even before the pandemic. So I don't think even though I watched a lot more during the pandemic, I don't think it really changed much. You brought up like kind of like seeing similar patterns when it comes to like watching, movies over and over. And yeah, that's something that you're going to find at some point in your life. I discover like everyone kind of realizes it at some point, like every movie is structured very similarly to each other. And that's not me trying to say every movie is literally the exact same. It's not, obviously, but there's a very similar formula structure that you don't really tend to notice until you really get into movies or television shows, for example. So you know, it's definitely understandable when I hear someone saying, "Oh yeah, I'm getting kind of fatigued of this kind of thing." It's just something that I personally myself haven't felt the fatigue for yet, but I'm also not trying to claim that it won't come eventually. I also think one other reason for that is just because with me kind of stepping down from the channel a bit recently and like not doing anywhere near as much as I was like during quarantine, I think it makes it like a lot easier for me to kind of enjoy like new content when it comes out. Because like now when even with like Legends of Tomorrow, when I gave up on that show, it made it so like at least watching it, I was able to be like, oh, cool, at least it's something to watch and I don't lose much from watching it. Whereas before, when I was reviewing Legends of Tomorrow, I was actually dreading each episode for season 6. Not at first, because I actually enjoyed season 5, but when I realized how bad season 6 was going to be, I was like dreading each episode because then I realized, oh God, not only do I have to watch this, but I have to pay attention and then I have to talk about it later like I care. Yeah. So I think like when I don't have that going on, it's a lot easier for me to just relax and watch a bad show like Legends. You know, and yeah, and it's like it's one reason I'm so kind of glad I'm not reviewing Supergirl, because there's just in terms of like the last few episodes with its story, like, you know, not dissing the messages. I actually think the messages they've been given in these episodes are very good. I just think when it comes to kind of its story and then just like its main villain, I just really don't like that kind of what they've been doing with that. You know, so it's like I keep thinking every time I'm watching this, I'm like, I'm so glad Adam's the one reviewing this, not me.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you. I definitely get what you mean, though. I personally haven't minded it so much, but I definitely get what you mean. So yeah, for sure. Let's see here. We got a couple other questions here. This is from Adrian. What's up, Adrian? Good to see you, man. He says, hey, guys, what's up? It's Adrian. Have you guys seen the international episodes of Dino Fury? If so, what do you think about them without spoiling it? No, I have not seen it. So, yeah. I know you have, though, right? Have you watched all the episodes internationally? No spoilers. What have you thought about them?
Well, here's what happens from scene to scene. No, I'm kidding. No, I wouldn't do that. I've been really liking it after finishing this season. And it's funny enough, I think it took me the Christmas special, this Christmas episode, finally realized what it is about the season that I love compared to like the other Nickelodeon seasons. This feels like the first time in a while where we've had characters in Power Rangers that have just conversations with each other that don't necessarily have to lead into the plot, but all it does is really give good character interactions between them and kind of lets you learn more about these characters as a whole. And that's something that I feel like it's been missing from Power Rangers since like the Disney era. And it took me until the Christmas episode, because spoiler alert, Santa's in it, which I think he's in like every season during their Christmas episode. So there's like a scene though where you have one of the Rangers having just like a really weird down to earth conversation with Santa Claus. And it was at that moment I realized that's what Dino Fury's been doing good. They can take all these silly elements that you have from Power Rangers, but they can still like kind of ground it down with the type of characters that we got and have like cool, like casual conversations between them. So there's that. And then I also think episode, I want to say it was 16, where you get backstory on you get a little bit more backstory on what happens with the Sporix Beast. I won't spoil anything, but holy crap, it goes into a direction I didn't expect, and it's probably my favorite episode of the season. It's really good. It's the second episode with the Gold Ranger when you get like the full backstory with him. It's great.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. We got new episodes that are hitting Nickelodeon this Saturday. This upcoming Saturday, we get episode 12, a new episode here in the States. And then on October 15th, the following Friday, all the season 1 episodes, the second half will be made available October 15th on Netflix. But Nickelodeon will still be airing their new episodes weekly. Why do you think Arrow was a huge success and legacy despite a couple of bad seasons? Who do you think changed superhero live action on TV? Tom Welling from Smallville or Stephen Amell in Arrow? I do wonder. I feel like Tom Welling and Stephen Amell would answer this question the other person. I feel like Stephen Amell would probably talk about how Tom Welling sort of paved the way for them to eventually get where they're at. Tom Welling would probably say, "Yeah, but Stephen Amell made it cool," or something like that. So I think they would probably both answer in that particular way. But Stuart, how would you answer? Who do you think changed superhero live action on TV? And what do you think made Arrow a huge success despite some bad seasons?
I think technically probably Smallville, but it's so weird because they're too different to really say which one had the bigger impact on superhero TV altogether. I'd say like Arrow for opening up like a really big superhero universe compared to like, even though spinoff shows isn't like an uncommon thing, to do it to the extent that Arrow's done it is just really, really impressive, honestly. So in that sense, Arrow, but like in the sense of just, being able to work out how to bring these larger than life characters onto the small screen and make them feel very relatable. I think Smallville also did a really good job of that. I think like it's sad because I've stopped in the middle of season 3 only because like going back to the kind of like the earlier thing we were talking about when it comes to fatigue, I think the problem is like with Smallville, its formula is just way too repetitive, even by CW standards. So it's like I need to start taking breaks in between like watching seasons because I tried binging it, and I think that's what's making it frustrating to get through. So as soon as I take like a little bit longer, like maybe a week or two, I'll probably try to get back into Smallville. But yeah, so I'm going to go with Arrow as the bigger answer though, because that was the one that really opened up a universe. As for why it was so successful despite its bad seasons, I think for Arrow, it's because the good outweighed the bad, because you had amazing performances by Stephen Amell, who really made the character his own. And I think the way the show kind of started out being very grounded and being like, okay, we want this to be in a superhero universe, but we don't want to focus on superheroes. We want to focus on, just Oliver Queen and his rise to becoming the Green Arrow. I think that's what helped, because it helped them make the story like that much more grounded. And then it gave, it gave them more excuses to focus a lot more on character stories, and it made you really care about like pretty much even characters who weren't like important for the overall story structure. I feel like you still cared about them. Like the biggest example was Oliver's friend, who it would have been incredibly easy to make as an unlikable rich douchebag, and I thought that's what they were going for in the first episode, but like halfway through the season I find myself actually like really enjoying his character, and then being really sad when he died at the end.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Let's see here. For me, I probably would, if I had to pick, you picked, who did you pick? Stephen Amell? You picked
I
Stephen
picked
Amell?
Stephen Amell. Yeah.
I'll just to be different, I'll say Tom Welling. What were some of your favorite films so far this year?
Definitely Shang-Chi so far.
Yeah, Shang-Chi was up there. I really enjoyed Candyman. I was a big fan of Candyman. I got the opportunity to check that out also. Let me see what my I'm trying to go to my AMC Theaters app and just see what some of my past tickets were to highlight maybe what movies I actually did see this year. So let me see.
That's
my AMC
thing. I'm trying to remember what else I saw this year.
So Candyman, Suicide Squad, Black Widow, and then I'm gonna go see Venom tonight. Those are the only 3 movies that I've actually seen this year. Damn, I'm slacking, yo.
Yeah, I'm also really slacking this year. Wait, did this come out this year? Oh, it did. Okay, here's a movie that's not really good, but it's definitely gonna make you laugh a few times because of just like how bizarre it can kind of get. Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage also came out this year, and if you want to see Nicolas Cage be a pushover and clean, but somehow look amazingly badass while doing so, this is the movie for you. Also, if you like Five Nights at Freddy's, you'll like this too, because he beats up animatronics. So it's
very nice.
It's a really weird movie, but it somehow works for me. I know a lot of other people didn't like it; they just thought it was okay. I personally like it. I think it's just because like Nicolas Cage doesn't go all balls to the wall like he normally does, and that's what disappointed some people. I think it kind of worked for this type of character he was playing.
Maybe I'll have to check it out then for sure, man. Let's see. We got. He also asked, "What are some of the movies you're looking forward to later this year?" We got Venom 2 out. We got No Time to Die, the new James Bond movie that's coming. The sequel to Halloween is going to be out there. Dune this October. Last Night in Soho, The Eternals, Ghostbusters Afterlife, King Richard, West Side Story, No Way Home, Matrix 4, The King's Man. I mean, there's a lot of great movies out there. Is there any in
Oh
particular
yeah.
that you're really looking forward to?
If I had to break down to my top four, definitely Spider-Man, Eternals, Matrix, and oh crap, there was a fourth one. Oh yeah, and Dune. Like those would be my four. I think like out of them, like the Marvel fan in me wants to say like Eternals and Spider-Man, but the movie fan in me really wants to say Matrix 4 just because after rewatching the trilogy last week with some friends, we all have like our own million theories on where this sequel can go now. And so I think I've gotten actually more excited now from rewatching it with a bunch of other people than I had been beforehand.
I get you. I get you. Yeah, if I had to pick four, definitely Matrix 4, definitely No Way Home, Dune, and I'll even throw Ghostbusters Afterlife in there too. Every time I watch the trailer, I get goosebumps, man. So I think I'm in store for something really, really exciting there. Um, all right. I think other than that, I think that's actually going to wrap up all of our live viewer questions for the day. I'm just going to go ahead and check
Ooh.
out some of these comments and see if there's any comments in here that we want to tackle real quick.
One more movie actually from this year that was pretty good that I feel like a lot of people kind of slept under. But the movie Nobody with Bob Odenkirk, very similar to John Wick, but like Bob Odenkirk kind of plays it like you don't think he's an action hero, but then like as the movie goes on, like and I thought I was gonna have a hard time buying him as an action hero just because I always see Bob Odenkirk in Better
Is
Call
that the
Saul
Better
as like
Call
a
Saul?
punching line,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
as a punching bag, because he's always getting his ass kicked. So it's interesting finally seeing the tables turn, seeing him being the one who always kicks other people's asses. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out, man. I'll have to check that out. I think I have seen posters for it and stuff. I know there's a trailer out there, but I don't think I've seen the trailer. Power Rangers Ready says, is Ghostbusters Afterlife a sequel to the 80s movie or the Chris Hemsworth and Melissa McCarthy reboot? The sequel to the 80s movie.
Yep.
It's focusing on that. Marcelino Vasquez, I see G.I. Joe is weird seen in live action. I found it weird whenever they refer to the secret agents as Joes. Yeah, I definitely hinted at Joes and the idea and concept of Cobra for sure. I am interested. I think they do have a Lady Jane series that's supposed to be dropping over on Amazon. I read about. So whether or not that's officially going forward, I want to say that it is, that Amazon picked it up, but I haven't heard anything too much in regards to that. So we'll see if after what happened with Snake Eyes, if they definitely go ahead and continue along with it. Power Rangers Ready, in regards to what I was talking about in regards to Snake Eyes, he does say, he wanted to catch his father's murderer. I definitely get it, man. I want to say some stuff, but I don't want to spoil it for Stuart if he decides to kind of go down that path. But there's every character certainly has a motive, and I definitely understand the motive that he certainly wanted. The execution of getting that accomplished, though, it's very worrisome for me. And it just tells me a lot about the character. So I don't want to get too much into it. But AJ, maybe we could talk a little bit about it later. He also asked, does Venom do the
Sorry.
go
My
ahead.
bad.
Let me
do yours first.
Yeah, just the last one. Does Tom Hardy do the voice of Venom or a different actor? I believe it's Tom Hardy.
Yeah, it is Tom Hardy who does the
right?
voice for Venom as well.
Okay.
I think for Carnage, I don't think it's Woody Harrelson for Carnage though. I think they actually do have a different voice actor for him. But I'm not 100% sure. I actually still haven't seen Let There Be Carnage yet, but I definitely will. Monday or Tuesday is the plan.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Well, maybe after you check it out, maybe we can do a live spoiler discussion or something. We'll talk about it. And you had one too?
Yeah, this I just thought was funny because I remember when Suicide Squad was first announced and we were like doing any article about it, there was always a comment about Pete Davidson and them not liking Pete Davidson in the movie. I don't remember if it was AJ every time, but I just know that there was always someone like saying they didn't like that Pete Davidson was in it. And I still don't get why, because like I get it. He doesn't do that much in terms of acting, but I like him in SNL. He's pretty funny. And yeah, he did exactly like what I thought he was going to do in this. I thought like, even though he didn't last long in the movie, I still loved like the couple of minutes we got to see him.
Yeah, I remember my girlfriend and I think her sister being a little bit disappointed that Pete Davidson died off so soon. I think they were hoping that he would have a bigger role. Like they were certainly rooting for him. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe he's in this movie." Because they love watching SNL too, and so they find him absolutely hilarious. So the fact that he got cast in here, I think they were pretty excited about and were eager to see his role. And then like literally watching the movie, they realized just how minuscule it was. And yeah, the reaction I thought was flawless, man. I thought it was priceless. All right, I think other than that though, I think that's probably gonna do it for us today, guys. So hey, thank you very much everybody who certainly participated today, joining us in the live chat, submitting over your live viewer questions. Always great to get your guys' point of view and perspective on things also. But Stuart, since we're wrapping up here, man, we definitely have plans on coming back next weekend for you guys. Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Time. I believe Indy mentioned that he would be joining us next weekend as well. So unless something comes up, we should certainly have a full squad here next week. But Stuart, if people do want to go ahead and reach out to you on social media, where can they find you, sir?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 on Twitter and Instagram. And you can also check out my channel, Turbo Studios, where I post stuff every, like maybe twice a year if I'm lucky. But yeah, I am like actually starting to get stuff together for filming, but I've been saying that for so long. So don't ever take anything I say seriously. Just take it with a very grain of salt. But I am hoping to actually bring more like kind of sketches and just, kind of fun skits to that channel, like kind of make it like a like kind of a cheap version of like kind of those other YouTube channels that do something very similar. But this is exciting. So I recently got like this really cool Steadicam for my phone camera. And what's great about it is that I can lock onto any object, move it in any way I want, and it'll stay locked onto that object. So it makes it so like now I can do some really cool cinematic shots. So that's cool. I'm actually, I was debating for a long time whether or not I want to stick with my DSLR camera or go onto my phone, because on the one hand, the phone looks better, but on the other hand, DSLR, I get more like freedom on what I can do in terms of like what I want the shot to look like. But I think I went with the phone overall, and I think this is like going to help out a lot.
Yeah, I think you can get some amazing quality with just your phone alone these days, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, so yeah, definitely looking forward to it, Stuart. But guys, listen, if you want to follow us, as always, you can do so right here at A+ Opinions. Very active over on our Twitter page, especially on our main page, which is our Facebook page. If you guys want to wonder or know where we get all of our articles that we talk about throughout the week, we post them on our Facebook page first, guys, along with trailers, posters, keeping you up to date throughout the week. And then we pick some of our favorite topics to certainly go ahead and talk about with you guys on our show. So definitely check us out over on Twitter as well as our main Facebook page, and definitely check us out over on Instagram as well. But other than that, guys, that's going to do it for us here. We'll certainly see you next weekend. But until then, do us a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye. If you enjoy our content and want to be a part of helping our channel grow, become a patron supporter. We have affordable tiers to choose from that offer a variety of exclusive and early access content, from audio files for all of our shows for you to enjoy on the road, access to our Discord community, and plenty of reactions, reviews, character breakdowns, and more. Check us out at patreon.com/A+opinions. And as always, remember, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so anytime we drop a brand new video, you will be notified.